If this man should fall, who will lift the flag and carry on?
I will.
You guys ready for a tough one? I'm apologizing in advance. This is going to be a really rough show. There you go. Now I've got one more thing I need to play for you guys before I bring it in here. I want you guys to listen to this.
A true story for you. So my buddy, I'm not going to mention his name, but my buddy has an Italian last name, and his parents are Italian, his dad's Italian. So he did the 23andMe, and then, for argument's sake, about 50% came Italian, and then the other 50% came Israeli. So he was wondering, you know, what gives, what's going on, this isn't right, something's wrong. So he shows his mother and talks to his mother. And his mother says, all right, I have to have a conversation with you. When I was in high school, I was dating your father, but I was also sleeping with the English teacher who was from Israel.
So his dad was not his dad. And just and he found out, oh, my God.
So his mother told him that she was dating his father. They were high school sweethearts. She was dating his father and lied to his father that he was the father and that she got knocked up from him, and never told him, never told the father, and told her son to swear to secrecy and not to tell her father.
Man. I mean, how old was the guy when he found out?
I mean, he's probably, I think he's in his late 30s. So
okay, wow. And was his father still alive at that time?
Which biological?
The father he thought he was his father wasn't really his father.
Yeah, he told me he tracked him down. I forgot where he was at that point, but he tracked him down. But I don't know if he ever actually communicated with him or not. But yeah, no, the guy.
What about the other guy? Did the other guy who thought that this was his son ever find out? Was he alive to find that out?
No. So his mother told him, he's like, you know, you have to swear to me to secrecy that you're never going to tell your dad that he's actually not your biological, you know, father.
Come on.
So, yeah. So be careful. You know, the disclaimer, it's true. So be careful what you wish for when you do the 23andMe. You may find out some other things. A true story.
There we go. Sorry for the melodramatic buildup for today's show. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know what, I got to start out with standard caveats today. I was going to do this show as a members only thing on Patreon, but I had this again sent to me. Was it last night, and I watched this one video. Now this is I gave you a little bit of lead up there. That actually was a radio show program that somebody else sent me, and I thought it was interesting because I'm starting to get a lot of these stories sort of in my inbox about, for lack of a better term, paternity fraud. That's a real nice way of saying it's a normalized version of cuckoldry. And rather than just sort of give you the runaround about my day before we jump into things today, I'm just going to start right in because this is going to take some time, and I want to do it justice. I was made aware of this video, which we're going to dissect a little bit today. Today's going to be a bit of a case study, let's say. Again, I have to be careful of these kinds of videos simply because they sort of smack of being sort of red meat. And I want to, like I said, do this justice and give you some of the, I guess, the machinations, let's just say, what's working under the hood, the mechanics, the nuts and the bolts, right? The gears that are working in situations like this. Because I think one of the most common things, I've written at least 4 different essays, specific essays on paternity. And of those 4, I want to say there's 4. There might even be 5 right now. Of the ones that I've written, I think the majority of them I have written in the last 2 to 3 years. I have and you'll see there's always relevant links on my show, by the way. So if you want to go and do any follow-up reading, or you want to know, well, where's he coming from, or if this is the first time you're watching this show, and it might very well be, because I promoted this particular show on other channels that I wouldn't necessarily push out there, because I'm trying to reach sort of the unchurched, let's just say. And so if this is your first time, what I do is I will put like links to my essays and things that I'm Rollo Tomassi, by the way, in case it's your first time. I'm the author of The Rational Male and the Rational Male series of books. I will soon be the author of the 4th book, which is coming out soon. But if you are curious as to how I come to the way that the conclusions, let's just say, the dots I connect, always go and check in the description of this video. You will find links to all of the previous work that I've done, which is almost 18 years now, about 18 years. So, what's wrong with red meat? Well, here's the reason. The reason I kind of shy away from red meat, Mr. Tom Brokaw, I'll just put you up there really quickly, is because it's sensational, and this is a serious topic. That's why I shy away from red meat, or I try not to exclusively do nothing but red meat videos. And by red meat, I mean like sensationalized, just to get you in here and get you clicking and get you raging and get you frothing at the mouth. That's not my intent. I have had many occasions to talk about paternity. I've had many occasions to talk about, I think, the seriousness and the gravity of what the red pill really implies for guys. And I think that it deserves a whole lot more than just, hey, check out my new video on the latest outrage. I don't want this to be an outrage video. I was talking to the other guys in Rule 0, of course, and I said, look, if I'm going to do red meat videos, it's going to be sizzled with steak. So this is the steak. And sometimes that steak is really hard to sort of swallow. And today's going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be a rough one today, simply because there's a lot of, I'm the rational male, right? I'm the guy who's written the books on being pragmatic and being rational and reasonable, and to sort of deconstruct things for you so you get a better idea of what, like I said, what's going on, the dots I'm connecting. But that doesn't mean that the truth doesn't hurt sometimes. Like I've said before, the truth will set you free, but it doesn't mean that the truth won't hurt. And it doesn't mean that the truth is going to be all, birthday cakes and ice cream cones. Okay. It's not. In fact, a lot of times the truth is rough. And the other thing is, although the truth will set you free, here I am pontificating here, but although the truth will set you free, it doesn't absolve you of the responsibilities or the liabilities of what it shows to you or other people. And so it's kind of on you. Now, today's topic that I'm going to be dissecting is from a young influencer, and by young I mean he's 22 years old. And the reason why I kind of want to talk about this is because my nephew just turned 22 yesterday, as a matter of fact. My daughter is 22. My niece is 18. She'll soon be 19. So this is their demographic. This is their generation. And they're running headlong into the same kind of crap that I've been talking about since the early 2000s, since 2002 at the very least. Actually, it's before that, but if you want to go back to my So Suave posts, that's where you'll find them in 2002. And although the context changes, the dynamics do not change. Although the ways we go about things change, the motivations and the incentives and the intent does not change. And you're going to get smashed headlong into that truth I was telling you about here in a little while. The pretty lies, as Roy C. once said, it's where they go to die. Well, sometimes when the pretty lies die, it's really hard for people to accept, particularly when you're idealistic and you're 19 to 22 and you're a young man. So today I'm talking to young men primarily today. Not that this doesn't have some bearing on you if you're older, and particularly if you are in your 30s or somewhere around there. And I'll let you know why that's relevant here in just a second. The way I work super chats, by the way, is if you have something that is relevant and on topic today, which is going to be about paternity and the way we do child rearing, more or less. If it's on topic, I'll be happy to check it out as soon as I can. If it is off topic, I will wait until the last 20 to 30 minutes of the video today. We're probably going for at least 2 hours. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm probably going to go that long. So here we go. I have this video I put it in the YouTube chat window. If you're watching this on Periscope or Facebook or something like that, you can go over to the YouTube. Once this is recorded, you can go and check out the video. I'm going to play it today, and I'm going to sort of dissect it. I'm just going to give you the quick breakdown before I do, though. This guy, his name is jcook. All right. And he is an influencer. I don't think he is like a musician or anything in particular, but he's a YouTube guy. He's got close to almost, what is he at? 750,000 followers. He's getting up there. He's at least significant enough to be like that. And entertaining. I will say I kind of have an affinity for the guy after watching what I have of what he's done. So I looked at this video and I thought, well, maybe this is something that really needs to get out there, particularly to the younger crew. If you've read my second book, which is The Rational Male Preventive Medicine, there is a part of that timeline, because the book is based on a timeline of things you can expect from women at certain ages and, times of maturity, let's just say. There's a phase on that timeline that I call the break phase. And the break phase is anywhere between, like, say, 17 to maybe 20, maybe 21 for guys, more or less. Now, I call it the break phase because usually this is the time when guys who've had their sort of high school sweetheart go off to college and they don't know what to do with themselves. Again, the Lost Boys generation here is really kind of I don't want to say it's a multi-generational phenomenon now. I would say it's certainly for the millennial generation, and it's certainly picking up for the Zillennials, the Z generation as well. Sort of a sense of purposelessness is transferring over to this next generation, and particularly men, and that makes the break phase very difficult for guys. And the break phase, I usually characterize the break phase as guys not really knowing what to do with themselves, but being very idealistic. And I think you're going to get that sense of idealism from jcook here. His full name is Justice Cook. I think that's at least that's what he goes by. Anyways, this is what I'm looking at on his YouTube channel here. Now, the video I'm about to show you is getting close to about 3 million views. It's at 2,933,112 views at the time of me broadcasting this. Now, he put this out on August 6th, so this is still kind of about a week old, maybe, from the time of me doing this. But just a long story short, the guy is, like I said, very young. Certainly, he's just 22 now. He has, or he believed he had, an infant daughter by, I guess, what he believed was his baby mama, and comes to find out that this is not the case. And I'm going to let him sort of describe the whole situation, but I wanted to just give you like the sort of the summary of this whole thing before we get too far into it, because there's a lot to unpack, as always. So I'm gonna go through this video. We're kind of dissect it and pick it apart. I'm gonna give you the nuts and bolts of what's going on here. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because, like I said before, there's a war on paternity. And there's been a war on paternity for quite some time now. I would say at least since 2010, and probably even before that. I'll explain to you why there is a war on paternity. And yes, I have done videos on paternity before. I think I did one with Pat Campbell back in the day, which was like maybe a year ago or maybe a year and a half ago. And so I have done them before, but I don't think I've ever done them as comprehensively as I will on this one today. Again, this is not I don't want this to be a flame fest, right? I'm not trying to tear this guy down. And yes, I had to watch this whole video probably through twice because in this day and age, I hate to say it, but it's too easy to fake something and have something be a goof or something be a prank kind of thing, and to just sort of get people to get eyes on screens. I don't think that that's what's going on here. I think this actually happened, and I think you'll agree with me too when you see this. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm 100%, but I think I'm about 99.8% sure that this is genuine. So I'm going to play this. We'll kind of I guess pick our way through it. And what this is, like I said before I get into it, is I think it is a good illustration of not only what this younger generation, this Zillennial generation, the generation of my daughter and my nephew, let's just say, certainly is their generation. This is what young men are going to have to deal with right now. And I have said this before, back again in preventive medicine, is that when you're in that break phase, guys, when you're 17, when you're 18, 19, 20, maybe even 21, at no other time in a man's life are they more idealistic. And that idealism, men are idealistic by nature as it is. And again, that can be your greatest strength, but it can also be your greatest weakness. And we're going to see just how it is for both of those aspects of idealism in this video today. But as I've said before, men love idealistically, women love opportunistically. And again, that's not I'm saying opportunism and opportunistically as nice and as clinical a way as I can. That is not meant to say, oh, all women are evil. That's not what I'm saying here. But I am saying that this is the mechanics of it. And you have to understand the mechanics of it. Otherwise, you cannot protect yourself. And you'll see just how bad a bullet that Justice dodged in all of this, and yet still continues to be very idealistic at the end of this video. And so it's one thing to have dodged a bullet. It's another thing to not have learned from the act of having dodged that bullet. So this is going to be kind of educational for the young men today, and as well as the older men too. I should say, like, this is equally as applicable to guys who are like in their 30s. And if anything else, I would say you would need to have learned the lessons of this video and what we're going to talk about today if you get to 30 years old, because you will be in the same sort of predicament if you maximize your potential, if you make the most of yourself, if you if you make your sexual market value potential something of a priority for yourself by the time you get to be 30 to 35, maybe 36, sometimes that's the most dangerous time for you to, I won't say, be vulnerable, but I mean vulnerable in the sense of being ignorant and being naive. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in a clinical sense, like you're just unaware of of the game that you're involved in. So without further ado, I'm going to push this up here. Again, like I said, guys, this is going to be a little tough. Also, I'm going to have to apologize in advance for the language. Again, I'm trying to stay as neutral as I can on YouTube these days, particularly these days. But these are not my words. These are jcook's words, and I think you probably are. We're all adults here, so let's just let me get onto this here real quick, and I will share the screen. I'm going to be jumping around a lot today, so guys, please forgive me for I don't have everything on cue. I don't use OBS. I use StreamYard for this. That's that. Oh, and then one other thing I need to do. Let's see, there's that. And then I realized to my shame, yes, last time, is I need to disable the audio processing so you guys can, so you don't get that that echo like I put into it before. So here we go. This is called I'm Not the Father. It's by jcook. And I don't know who does his video. Maybe he does it himself, but it's actually pretty well produced. So here we go.
Well, now, really, when we go back then to falling in love and say it's crazy, You see, we don't say rising into love. There is in it the idea of the fall.
Watch how quick this is. There we go. She's healthy. We did the screening. Karen's good. She got a big head like her daddy.
We're excited. We're gonna be some aunts and uncles.
We're gonna have fun. I can't wait to meet you.
Addie.
Nah, this was dope. I think this like
You said that word.
get 5 Lily pound.
We have the baby. Oh, I see wing Debbie.
There is always a curious...
Alright, y'all. So, I want to say welcome back to my channel. Obviously, this is a little bit different than another lit video. You know what I'm saying? I was not expecting to have to do this video. Damn, I'm already getting emotional. I didn't even... Dude, what the fuck? Alright, y'all, so boom. I don't even know like how to do this video without it. I swear to God, I thought this was gonna be a hell, like not easy, but I did not think I was gonna get emotional already. Anyways, I'm finna try to do this video as smooth as possible. So if I start, you feel me, getting emotional, I just try to cut it out. Boom, what it is. So, I literally like don't even know like how to start, where to start. I've already filmed this video like 3-4 times, and it's super late at night, and I'm just trying to figure out like how do I even like. I deadass like in so many other situations, you guys, that I've ever had on my channel, like I know how to start the video and I know how to finish the video. With this video, I literally don't even know like how to start, how to... All right, I'm gonna move this up a little bit here because I want to get to the meat of what happened here. But you can, I'm not trying to overplay this. I know it probably seems like I am, but actually let me put myself back in here real quick. There we go. I mean, okay, so the guy is hurting right here, obviously. So let's move on, and like we can sit here and listen to the piano music all day long, but I want to push this up to where we're at here. So just so right about the 7-minute mark, he gets into the meat of the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Or better D to single fathers that can't really provide for themselves. Yeah, you know what? Actually, hold up real quick here. I wanted to throw this on there because I would feel bad if I didn't. Stuff. So essentially what he's saying is that the proceeds and everything that he's done, because a lot of people helped him out with his you know, he thought he was a young father here, and he is essentially donating the proceeds of all the stuff that had
had come to him, I guess, as a result of that, because he's a YouTube influencer, right? And he is donating it to an organization in Phoenix. He's in Phoenix, Arizona, and it is, what the hell is the name of it? I think it's
bought, you know, the whole room that I built for this little girl, everything like that. I'll be donating everything to Phoenix organization called Father Matters. Basically what they do is they help single dads with legal stuff. And with housing and custody issues and all of that, you know what I'm saying? So like, you guys, just so you guys know, I'm not just gonna be just throwing away all the stuff that you guys have donated, and I truly appreciate it. But it'll be going to a better, you know what I'm saying, a better deed to single fathers that can't really provide for themselves. Basically, if you guys know, you know what I'm saying, if you guys know what's going on, so I recently posted a video probably about a week and a half ago, you know what I'm saying, and I posted a video basically like it was gonna be a series. There's gonna be a part one and a part two. Part one was basically the fact that my alleged daughter, her mom's ex-boyfriend, right? London's mom's ex-boyfriend friend had DM me, right? I know a lot of people get mixed up. They think the ex-boyfriend actually DM me. He did not DM me. And basically told me like that he's not friends with this person anymore, blah blah. They had 0 following, 0 posts, 0 followers, right? So it was this person made this account just to DM me, so I knew it was probably something important. Seeing pictures, that's the only reason why I even looked to click on it. Like usually I see like random stuff like that, and I'm just like, you know what, it's just somebody just hating, whatever. But for some reason, like this one, just like I had a feeling to click on it, so I clicked on it. Seen these pictures, these side-to-side pictures, right? They put London's face and they put this ex-boyfriend's face side to side, and for some reason to me it just looked too on point. And I've always, if anybody knows, like I've always kind of said, like I don't understand really where my daughter or where London looks like me, but you know what I'm saying, I do know that like girls have like strong genes and Latinas have strong genes, so maybe, you know what I'm saying, it's just a possibility that she's just not gonna look like me like that. I never really asked questions. The reason why, so I made this video and explained how this dude DM'd me and basically said, like, you know what I'm saying, this ex-boyfriend, you know what I'm saying, London's mom was dating her the same time you was dating her, or the same time you was messing with her. And I was kind of confused because I literally asked this girl multiple, like I don't even know how many times I've asked her, hey, you know what I'm saying, are you sure you never messed with somebody like around the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, like, because I always like hear people like DM me, people will comment, like be like, you might as well get a DNA test, blah blah. And I never like cared to get a DNA test, you guys, because like I truly believed that this was my daughter and that it was just gonna cause so much drama.
And he was right about that. It did cause a lot of drama. And that's really, this is where I kind of want to start here real quickly is, yeah, it did cause a lot of drama. And it caused a lot of drama because, I mean, it's a DNA test, right? Remember when Prince Harry was joking around and said something to, like, I forget what interview it was, but it was right after his son was born. And he said, are you sure it's mine? Or I think she just got pregnant. He was just joking, are you sure it's mine? And you know, people kind of laughed at that a little bit, but it wasn't all that funny. It's like, it's not socially acceptable for a guy to question, to even ask the question, to have even any kind of wonderment about whether or not the child is genetically his. And I think that the reason I want to start right here is it is, I don't say rude, but it is socially unacceptable, let's just say, for a guy to in any way question whether or not the child is his. And I think going forward, when we're talking about the global sexual marketplace, a lot of guys will say, well, what can we do, Rollo? How can we swing the pendulum back the other way? And I keep saying there's no pendulum to swing, right? We have to keep going forward. It's like we have to find some way to sort of adapt to this. And I think the only way to do so is to make it more socially acceptable to ask those questions, to insist on a DNA test. I think it would be in the best interest of men in every westernized country right now that every live birth be subjected to a DNA test, and the man involved, the father that is being called the father, needs to be aware of whether or not that child is genetically his or it is not. When you hear the rest of the story, I think probably what it was is I think you're going to see that maybe the girl didn't know whether he was the father or she was the father. Now, whether or not she knew is kind of irrelevant in this case, because from what he's explaining here, they were both getting after it with her around the same time. Now, you'll see here later on where she's just going to say, well, no, she'll deny everything about the fact that she was ever with the ex-boyfriend, and that's on her. Okay, but with respect to, I guess, the courts or legal systems or whatever else, I titled this show "Hypergamy Doesn't Care," which is actually a chapter in my first book. But it's all about what works best for women. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to reiterate it here, is that women have no problem with cognitive dissonance. And they have even less, they have no problem with cognitive dissonance as just in sort of principle, because it's very easy for women. Women grow up in Western countries anywhere, grow up, are raised, are conditioned to be able to play both sides of the fence. So whatever works in their best interests, it doesn't matter, because we can just simply backwards rationalize the decision and the outcome of it anyways. When it comes to hypergamous decisions, when it comes to, well, I got this guy right here and I got this guy right here, and one of them might be the father, who looks like the better long-term prospect? Who's the guy that I'm going to say is going to be the father and who's not? And I hope that they don't find out. Now, I played that one audio clip at the very beginning of this show from a radio show. I forget who sent that to me. I'll credit you. I promise I will. So I put that in there because we're starting to see just sort of almost like hobbyists, right? DNA hobbyists now for 23andMe, guys, people who want to know what their genetic lineage is, where they came from. Maybe they're interested in their ancestry. Like now we have better ways to sort of track our genetic lineage. And we're finding out more than ever that women are promiscuous, and they're a lot more promiscuous than we believed that they were in the first place. I'm going to talk about cuckoldry versus sort of single mommies here in a little bit, because I know the next thing is going to come up, and it's probably already in the chat. If it's not already, it will certainly be in the comment section for this video. So I'm just going to go ahead and address this right now. A lot of people will say this, well, real cuckoldry isn't as common as you think it is. They'll say, oh, well, now that we have 23andMe, I've seen statistics. And it depends on the country, of course. I've seen statistics for cuckoldry in the sense that the child is not the genetic material of the father that's on the birth certificate. I've seen the stats for like countries like Kenya and Ghana and Nigeria, because I have and hello guys, I have a very strong following in those countries, where it's somewhere around 30%, I think, is the children that are born are not actually the genetic progeny, let's say, of the stated fathers, the fathers that are declared on the birth certificate. Now that's okay, so that's those countries, but there's also the United States, there's also, westernized countries. And so I've seen stats trying to downplay, overt, proactive cuckoldry. And the stats are anywhere between, say, I think 10% and somewhere as high as 25%. And I think that, and prior to 23andMe and prior to sort of like the DNA hobbyists, I've seen it as low as I think like 2 or 3%. And then suddenly when 23andMe came out, then those stats jumped to about at least a minimum of 10. So even at 10%, people say, oh, it's not that big a deal. And I would disagree with that. I would say it's a much bigger deal than that, because cuckoldry is not just a woman deceiving or betraying a man's trust. It is also technically what cuckoldry is it is a woman getting another man to assume the parental investment responsibilities of another man's child. And he's going to talk about this here in just a second. I wanted to sort of give you a preface, a little preview of what's going to happen here. But when guys tell me, or when white knights or women tell me like, oh, it's not as prevalent as all that, it's not that big. There's, cuckoldry is very rare and it's only damaged women. And it's like, no, it's not. It is socially normalized right now. Cuckoldry is socially normalized. And I've said this, I'm going to give you another sort of preview here, is that there are two kinds of cuckoldry. There is proactive cuckoldry and there is retroactive cuckoldry. Retroactive cuckoldry, proactive cuckoldry is easy. It is, you're already in a relationship with a woman. Maybe you're married, maybe you're in a long-term relationship. That woman becomes pregnant by another man and convinces you that you are the father. That is, you're already there. She hasn't been pregnant before. She gets pregnant with somebody else. And now you are the guy who is either voluntarily, which is actually the more common case, or unwittingly assuming the parental investment responsibilities, accountabilities, liabilities, financial, emotional, as we've seen here, for a child that is not yours, that you had not, produced. Retroactive cuckoldry is when is the single mommy phenomenon. And it would have been this here too, had this guy not figured it out prior. Like, this guy is a rarity, because what most guys do is they don't want to. In fact, he even says, I didn't want to believe it was true. I didn't want to dig in. I didn't want the answers, right? Remember what I said about the truth will set you free. It doesn't mean the truth will be like painless. And he's going through a lot of pain, emotional and psychological right now. And again, this was a week ago. He seems to have sort of recovered from it. Maybe he's happy that he dodged a bullet and he's not the father. And what he's really fortunate is that the woman who convinced him that it was his child isn't seeking child support from him, because she could actually do that. I don't know about the state of Arizona, but certainly if she was in California and some other states here in the United States. And if you don't believe me, I'm about to show you exactly the legalities of that here in just a moment. I'm going to continue with this, and we'll have some more to say about this. Let's just keep going.
I had mentioned to Linda's mom before I would like to get DNA tests, and she would always trip on me, and I always explained to my family, like, I just didn't understand, because like I would specifically tell her I'm not trying to come off disrespectful in any means necessary. Like, I truly believe that this is my daughter, but for you, it's like you had her, you know what I'm saying? You pushed her out, you know what I'm saying? I watched you push this baby out. I literally sat there and held somebody else's baby mom's hand and took care of this girl. I provided for this girl. I literally, you know what I'm saying, glorified how dope of a mom she was for some other nigga, you know what I'm saying? So, it sucks, it really does, but like, basically what happened is so I asked her about this dude, right? I asked her if she's had anybody multiple times. She always said no. Always got mad when I asked about DNA tests. Always acted like, if you don't believe that it's your daughter, then just don't be posting her, don't be trying to like involve her in your shit. And like, I just never understood it, because like I was always trying to come off, my intentions was always good, but I felt like she took my approach the wrong way, and which was like fucked up, because like I had all right, now that I'm thinking about it, like I had all right to think like let me, like, why can't I get a DNA test? Like for me, it's like, yeah, like I know I messed with you and I might have slipped up, but it's like I don't know what she was doing, you know what I'm saying? We wasn't dating. Like, we wasn't dating, we wasn't messing with each other consistently. Like, this was a 1, 2, 3 time thing. Like, I don't know if, and come to find out, you had a whole ass boyfriend the whole time, and all this time I've been asked for a whole year. London is about to be 4 months. So from finding out, you know what I'm saying, a year and a month ago that you were pregnant to now, you denied the fact that there could be any type of possibility. And to me, that's like, to me it hurts the most because it's so like, it's so grimy as fuck. Like, I don't wish nobody bad. I don't wish nobody like the worst, but it's like, damn, bro. Like, I literally was living in LA. I was doing good. I had a penthouse in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? I had a little girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew I was doing good. Like, I was straight. And I literally dropped everything just to move back so that I could not be a deadbeat and like I could really step up to the plate. And now I'm thinking about, I did that without even knowing it was my daughter. Like, I know a lot of niggas that don't even do that for kids that they know are theirs. And
All right, so I'm sorry about the echo, guys. I realize it's my mic. It's not. I thought it was the audio processing. My bad. But I think I got it now, so we're good. I wanted to stop here real quick because a lot of what he's saying is sort of the do the right thing narrative, and I don't know if he comes from a broken home or what his background is. Somebody will probably chime in and let me know what what his personal history is all about. But again, that idealism. And if you looked at the videos that were at the very beginning of this, they were sort of a compilation of all these other videos where he was documenting the birth, right? The pregnancy and the birth, and they had the gender reveal party, and this is a guy that really wanted to do the right thing. He wasn't going to bail. I'm sure that at some point along the way, when he realized that his girlfriend was pregnant, or the girl he'd been banging was pregnant, that he sacked up, right? I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, right? That's the narrative. Do the right thing, man up, take responsibility. I've talked about this 1,000 times, particularly when it comes to like trad cons, and it's all about responsibility. And we want to see that, particularly in Black community, right? I mean, we keep saying, well, we need Black fathers. You listen to Candace Owens, she'll talk about the same thing. We need to get men to step up to the plate. He mentions it himself. He rattles off the same, probably without even knowing it, rattles off the same kind of rhetoric that he's been trained probably since he was a young teenager. You know, these are the things that you have to do, and probably at some point along the way decided that he was going to have to alter his life at 22 years old. Man, I couldn't even imagine having a pregnant girlfriend at 22 years old. Like, I know what I was. I know me, right? I knew damn well, like I was right in the thick of it at 22. And I certainly did not want to have any children or anything like that. So I find it really, I won't say I don't have a frame of reference, but I can certainly imagine. And I remember I was 22 back in 1990, right? So yeah, I think you have to take that as part of the understanding, part of the analysis, let's say, part of understanding this whole thing. Because you got a guy who's 22 years old, and now he has to or he's being asked to, or he believes he must be that idealistic guy who's going to step up to the plate and do what he's supposed to do. Like he was saying before, he was there in the probably the OBGYN, the NICU, whatever. No, the delivery room, right? Holding her hand, watching her, squeeze the baby out that he thought was his. That's a lot, man. I mean, I see a lot of guys in the chat here going, "Oh man, he's just a wuss. He's just a chump, whatever. He's just a blue pill." Yeah, move on. Let's talk about girls. Talk about no, dude. Let me explain something to you. When you're in that delivery room and you believe that child is yours, dude, that's some heavy stuff, right? That is like, this is something you're supposed to remember for the rest of your life. There's certain events, I think, that are supposed to, like, we're supposed to remember these things. We're supposed to remember the birth of our child. I do. I was in the delivery room. I was right there. I saw my daughter come out, and that was that, right? When you get married, that's supposed to be another thing. When like there's maybe the death of your father, I'll always remember that, right? I'll remember that there's certain significant parts of your life that I think that we're supposed to have these really vivid, like sharp memories of. Like I remember when 9/11 happened, those things like, where were you when the Challenger exploded in the sea, right? I remember that. It was 1986 because I was a senior in high school. I remember exactly where I was. So there's certain events that you remember. This is one of those things. But this is a thing, I think when you see the birth of your own kid, that is something that is supposed to be more, I guess, personally significant, certainly emotionally significant. It's going to burn memories into your brain that you're going to carry with you till you die, man. And so now this guy who thought he was going to be this little girl's father for the rest of his life and was already probably making plans emotionally, financially, whatever. And now it's not. And all because a young woman decided that she was going to play the odds, that he wouldn't find out, that he wouldn't ask questions. That's why I played that one clip in the beginning of this show. Is what happened. Now imagine this. Imagine that little girl develops this very tight relationship with Justice Cook here. And she gets to be 20 years old. And now Justice is 42, right? I guess. Or whatever, later on in life, and realizes for, whatever reason, maybe medical or like I said, hobbying, hobbyists, finds out that he's not actually the dad. And now it's on that little girl to not tell daddy, not to tell daddy. So it's like the lie that keeps on giving. So why is that? Why does that seem like something that should be acceptable? Because if you go and you look at the responses, if you look at the comments on this and other situations, I'm using him as one example. This is one example amongst lots and lots that have been thrown at me over the years. And when I go and I look at the Twitter, the Twitter responses or the social media responses or whatever, when I go and I look at those things, I'm like, most women think that he ought to do that. In fact, women will put these cutesy little memes out that says for a real man, it doesn't matter who the actual biological father is. A real man forgives his woman of cheating and takes care of another man's baby. Like that's a litmus test. That's what makes you real. That's what makes you step up to the plate. And this guy really wanted to do that. In fact, I would say that if it hadn't happened as early as it did, like, because the child is still a newborn or an infant of some sort. Like, I don't know exactly how old the kid is right now. She looked not a year, right? What happens, right? What happens when you have that emotional investment? Because it's not just a financial investment. I think a lot of guys, particularly in the manosphere, they'll say, well, I can't believe I spent, 18 years of child support for a kid that wasn't mine. Well, yeah, there's the financial aspect of it too. But there's also the emotional investment that goes into that. And I'm not trying to be all touchy-feely bullshit with you today. I'm talking about like the real deal. I'm talking about, you earnestly believe to the point where it pains you to be in any way suspicious that the kid might not be yours. Most of the guys right now that 23andMe is a thing, that's one way that guys are finding out about their wives or their girlfriends, their own cuckoldry, basically. Or else they are going in, because we have new ways of testing, blood types and things like that for genetic diseases, that we can find out whether or not the children, because that's the first thing they'll say is, well, sorry, Mr. Tomassi, you have Crohn's disease. I don't know, whatever genetic disease it is. We're going to need to test your children. We're going to need to test your sons, your daughters, blah, 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 to make sure that they don't have it too, because we need to prep for it, because maybe that's going to be a health insurance thing or whatever. And of course, it always comes back to money, right? But we're going to do that, and they find out that the kid's not theirs. And they believed, and they have an entire life invested, memories, emotion, college graduations, all this thing based on the premise or based on the idea that child is theirs. Now, what women will say is, well, why does that matter? That doesn't it doesn't matter who the father is. And I will tell you how long women have been saying this, because I wrote a post called Children of Men back in 2017, maybe it was earlier than that, based on an article I read from 2010, which essentially said the same thing, that maybe men shouldn't know. We have laws right now that forbid medical professionals from revealing to quote unquote fathers, that they aren't actually the real biological fathers. Now the ostensibly this is because they don't want that guy to freak out and kill the mother and wig out, or else they don't want they want to do what's in the best interest of the child. Even if the child is like 18, 20, he's off, is out of the house and they're empty nesters, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. So really what that is that's a result. Again, here we go with the mechanics of this whole thing. That's the legislative result of prioritizing women's mating strategy above that of men's. So for men's mating strategy, we have one driving principle, which is the baby's got to be ours. We need assurances. The existential fear of men, which is from an essay that's in the description here. The existential fear of men is to be cuckolded, essentially. Why do we get jealous? Because we don't want to be cuckolded. Why do we mate guard? Because we don't want to be cuckolded. Because when, like I said before, the cardinal rule of relationships is this, or cardinal rule of mating strategies is this, is for any one sex's mating strategy to be fulfilled or succeed, the other must either abandon their own or compromise their own. And today we ask men simply to abandon it wholesale. And so much so that we will try to convince men that they're bad, they're shameful, that they should not be so concerned with paternity, when in fact for millennia, for multiple millennia, for hundreds of thousands of years, let's say, maybe it's not quite that long, but let's just say 100,000 years of evolution has primed men to be jealous, to be insecure. And insecure, I mean insecure in their certainty of whether or not that child is theirs. Worldwide, why is it that men in a certain tribe would go and kill off the other men and the boys in that tribe and take women as their spoils of war? Because they wanted to ensure paternity. That's why. That's how strong it is in men. So we now live in an age where women in a gynocentric social order want to find some way to condition that out of you. And we're talking 100,000 years of evolution that predisposes you to jealousy, to infanticide, really, to mate guarding, to wanting to have 100% certainty that the child is yours. Because when men adopt women's mating strategy, they are at a disadvantage, a great disadvantage. Because for men, our breeding, our mating strategy is all are selected. We need to have sex with as many women as we possibly can. And some of them are special. We've got to, there still has to be the ones where we are parentally invested in those. But once a man becomes parentally invested in that child, he needs assurances. And up until we had genetic testing, which didn't really start until like the mid 70s, we didn't know unless we're white and the child's black, we didn't know unless there were some obvious signs that the child was not our kid. We didn't know those things. And so that's why we're predisposed to infanticide. That's why. And I'm not saying we kill all the kids. We have in the past, in our ancestral past, we most certainly we're prone to infanticide. Well, women say, "Oh, that's horrible. You guys you're beasts." Yeah, we are. We used to be. We're certainly less so now. Certainly much more, tamed, right? We're domesticated now. But we can still see stats. Like, why is it that not the biological father of a child is like 10 times to 12 times less likely to actually abuse or hurt or sexually abuse or children that are his. But when mommy brings a new boyfriend into the mix, when mommy brings, live-in boyfriend, that guy is anywhere from 8 to 10 times more likely to abuse that child. That is a strong correlate, let's just say, between that infanticide thing. So yeah, when men decide that they are going to adopt or at least compromise their own mating strategy to fulfill that of women's, there's only one criteria in that. Don't bang other guys. Don't have babies of other men and try to convince me that they're mine. Though that is pretty much evolution 101 for guys. That's why I say it's the existential fear of men. And so what happens is when you get a guy like jcook here, And he's saying, I thought the kid was mine. I was there, watched the kid come out. I believed it was for me. I believed these were my genes. Like he agonizes over the fact that somebody told him, hey, yo, man, she does not look like you. She looks like these two, like the baby mama and the ex-boyfriend, a lot like them too, but doesn't look like you. Why? I think and you'll see he agonizes over this too. I'll get back to it here, but I will mute my mic. Sorry for the echo. I apologize, guys. I'm glad. Thank you for telling me that. I had thought it was the processing, but it's not.
It's like, for me, it's like, fuck. Like, I really played, like, I was really a dumb ball. Like, what the fuck? Like, nigga moved back from LA, dropped a whole dope ass relationship, to coming back to Arizona for what? For, you know what I'm saying? I'll always have love for this little girl, but it's so hard because, you know what I'm saying, finding out whatever. So boom, so I posted a video. We'll get back on track. I posted a video basically saying, like, you know what I'm saying, I'm about to get a DNA test. It was supposed to be a part 2. The part 2 was basically me opening up this DNA test so that I could just rub it in everybody's faces so that they could just shut the fuck up, stop trying to say that I don't look like my daughter, stop trying to say I'm not the dad, you know what I'm saying, for this random ass person that DM'd me to, if it was the ex-boyfriend or whatever, tell him to get off my dick. Put the video, I set the camera up, and I was supposed to, you know what I'm saying, just rubbing everybody's face. And what's crazy is I'm about to show you guys this clip. The camera cut out, but this little 4-minute clip or whatever was when I just went over to my mom's crib on Monday, and was the day that I found out. I literally held this email so that I wouldn't open it until I got to my family's crib, just because, you know what I'm saying, I knew it was like kind of like a sensitive topic, and my mom didn't really want me to open on camera, but I honestly truly thought it was gonna come back as my daughter, and that's why I did this video the way I did. So here you go. You're trying to come around my shoulder so you can see.
No. I'm flying outside. I'm scared. Come on, boys.
3.
Oh, you're already home, Dad?
I'm confused. I don't even know how to understand this. I don't even know how to read this.
Do you want me to read it to you? Do you want me to look?
Oh, wait. Wait. What does probability of paternity mean?
The probability that you're her father.
Obviously, as you guys can see, I opened up that video, and I opened up the email and found out that you know what I'm saying, it says 0%, just as the alleged father, just Cook, is not the father in these cases, blah blah, and the names all little genes that you're not, of London D or Cook. So when I found this out, I texted her mom and I said, come get your daughter. You know what I'm saying? I was mad. I'm gonna be straight up. I was super.
All right, let me unmute real quick here. Push myself back in. So here he goes. I'm you know, again, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic here, but this is a guy who, honest to God, thought that he was going to be schooling other dudes. Like, people are saying, this is not your kid. This is not, and here are people like saying, you know, they're looking out for you, at least in some way. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of guys, like, you notice how he picks up on, or he I guess he sort of interprets this as if it is it's an attack on him. Like, how can you say that? How can you possibly believe that? I'll show you. I'll prove you. I'll go get the DNA test. And was totally wanted to just sort of rub it in people's face saying, this is my baby. Like, he wanted to be the father. And I think, and he's going to, like the next little clip after this, he's going to sort of explain how how things went down with him and the baby mama, whose name is London, by the way, just so you guys can sort of sort things out. His parents didn't want him to do it. Her parents, or her mom anyways, didn't want him to do it, but he did it anyways. And, like I said, the reason why I'm bringing this up or I'm putting this out there is because this is a rarity. Most guys won't do this. Most guys aren't guys who are on, like, I think what's interesting is I think probably what prompted him to do this is that he is a YouTube influencer. Like, he's like I said, he's pushing almost 1 million subs on YouTube right now. And he's like this lifestyle and influencer kind of guy. And I checked out his Instagram. He seems like a pretty cool kid, right? I'm just like, okay, cool. But I don't think that he would have had occasion to even question whether or not he was or he wasn't the father, had he not been that influencer, had he not had people from the outside or online say, hey, dude, really, you need to check this out. Like, some dude online prompts him to do that, not somebody in his real life, not his best friend, not his was his sister. I guess he has a sister and she's married too. It wasn't them. It was somebody online that he explains. And so that's what kind of makes this sort of I don't say unique, but it certainly makes it exceptional that a guy his age would actually question that and do it early enough to sort of, stave off any sort of, like, think about the impact to his life that he just, veered away from, right? Like, he saved his own life. That guy, he should be thanking it. He should take some of that money and give it to the guy who said, hey, you should really get a DNA test, because now he has, now he's free, right? Now he dodged that bullet. I wanted to bring this up too, is a lot of guys will like throw out the, I think there's a Chris Rock a bit that happened, I think it was in the early 90s, about how Chris Rock was talking about like who lies the most and whose lies are worse. And the joke was, of course, that men lie more, but women have the biggest lies. And their biggest lie is, it's your baby. That's women's biggest lie. For guys, it's like, where were you? I was out drinking. No, I wasn't. Lies of omission or lies of trying to dodge consequences. Whereas for women, it is like life altering kind of things like that. It's much more serious. They might not lie as much, but they lie more seriously. And it's funny because it's true. And so when you look at things like this, like I was saying before, the cognitive dissonance thing with hypergamy, women have no problem with cognitive dissonance if either one of the outcomes of that cognitive dissonance will in some way optimize hypergamy for her in the long term. So why would she not simply go to the guy who is the baby mama or the baby daddy and say, you're the baby daddy? I think you're the one, right? Or why is she opting for this guy, particularly since they are, granted, they were knocking it out at the same time, but she goes for this guy because look at him. I mean, he's an influencer. He's probably going places. I would venture to guess that he probably has more prospect for long-term security than the guy that she actually bred with. And he's going to explain to you what she said to him about the whole thing when he confronted her, because right now he can't, and let me give you a quick warning here. The next part is going to be probably the toughest part of this video to swallow. So just take a deep breath here.
Man, I had London at the time, which is crazy. I had London at the time, and I just texted her. I said, come get your daughter. And she started calling me, and to me it was like, you don't know if I was saying come get your daughter as in like, she didn't know I was opening up the DNA test. So you don't know if I was saying come get your.
Managing your projects should feel more like this. That's why you need ClickUp. With ClickUp,
daughter, as in like, you know what I'm saying, what it is. And she started like crying, calling me. I finally answered after like 10th call over and over. I really didn't want to talk to her because I was like I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. Like, I really have so much negative thoughts towards this girl. Like, I blocked her on everything. She's not having no type of words with me ever again. Basically what happened is she called me and she asked me, she said, what happened? And I said, I opened up the DNA test, and I don't know the DNA test results, and this is not my daughter. And I said, I love this little girl, but I need you to come get her. And she said, what are you talking about? And she just started crying. She just started like huffing and puffing, bawling, right? She asked me, what did she ask me? She said, tell me you're lying, tell me you're lying. I said, no, I'm not lying. Like, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck? Like, tell me you're not lying, you know what I'm saying? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just lied to me for a whole year. You basically just lied to me about the biggest factor of my whole fucking life. Like, the biggest thing that's happened to me in my whole fucking life. And it was a straight lie, straight dud. Like, whoa. So then she says, I'm gonna call you back. And I say, okay. And she called me back and she says, how long are you gonna be over there at the crib? I said, I don't know. Why the fuck does that matter? And she said, okay, well, my mom's coming to get me. I'm gonna come get London. So, all right, good. So I left. So I gave London, me and my family and all of us, we stood there and we all gave London like a big hug, big kisses and shit. It's crazy because there's literally a poster right here, you guys, of London. I just keep looking at it and I didn't even realize that until now. The one where she's wearing my chain. And we gave her like one last kiss, one last hug, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the hardest thing because it's almost like losing somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is losing somebody, but I'm saying like, it's like almost like someone died. Like, it sucks. Like, it's like you can't do nothing about it. I can't be in her life even if I wanted to because I have no right. I'm not her dad, you know what I'm saying? And she's gonna have to grow up probably not even knowing who the fuck I was, you know what I'm saying? Her mom probably not even gonna tell her because, you know what I'm saying, why would you? And so I gave her one last kiss, you know what I'm saying, play with her a little bit, and boom, yeah, that's what happened. I left. I could not be there when I seen her mom, or I could not be there when her mom came to pick her up, because that shit, fuck no, you feel me?
All right, I'm gonna hold it right there real quick. Hold on. There we go. So remember this also, because he just sort of explained this, I think, in pretty good detail. It's not just him. It's also his mother, who probably thought she had a granddaughter now. It's probably his sister, who thought she had a niece now. So he went through all of this. Very, like, it's not like we want to talk about the emotional side of this thing. Yeah, okay, it looks like he's wearing mascara. Okay, whatever. But like, the guy is like in serious pain, and it's not just him. It's also the other people that this girl led to believe that was his child, including probably her own mother as well. And find out that, and I don't know how old the baby mama is. I would presume probably somewhere around the same age. I'm not really sure. But the fact remains is that she, this is what she decided to do. This is like reflexive. This is impulsive. This is what women will do. It is, and I understand, like, a lot of women are going to watch this and they go, well, not every woman would do that. I'm not saying not everyone. We're going to be not all women, not NAWALT, right? Not all women are like that. No, but all women are like it when it comes to what their imperatives are. Doesn't mean that every woman will do exactly what this girl did to this guy. No, I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying this is that's what they will think about. That's the predicament. That's the operative state. I don't know if I've ever mentioned operative states on this show before. That is your operative state. It's like guys will tell me this all the time. They'll be like, well, you don't really need sex. Or you can be a celibate monk. It's okay. You don't really, all you need is oxygen and food and water, and then you're fine. Like, yeah, but your operative state makes it that you want and you need sex. Same thing for like when it comes for women, same thing too. Like they can't tell you, like, have you ever had a woman tell you this? She's like, I don't understand why I love him, but I do. Or I think on the last show that I did, I think on Sunday's show, I was talking about how women will say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And they honestly don't know why they feel the way they do. Or they want it, or you end up becoming the emotional tampon while she goes and has sex with the hot guy in the foam cannon party, right? The guy who is the jerk boyfriend. And then on her down cycle weeks, you're her best friend and you're there, the shoulder to cry on. And a week and a half, 2 weeks later, she's ovulating and she's back with the jerk boyfriend, banging him again, getting hurt, comes back to you, and the cycle repeats itself. You ask a woman and you point that out to them. Women don't, again, it's like, it's not about the nail. They can't tell you why they do what they do. They get locked into this sort of feedback loop, I guess, where they enjoy it, or and maybe they don't even realize they're enjoying it, but they can't figure it out for themselves. And it's not because they're stupid, and it's not because they're illogical. It's because their operative state. That's what your human biological operative state is. Hunger is an operative state. Can you cancel hunger? Sure, you can go on hunger strike. You can die. You can starve yourself and die. Because you starved yourself and died, right? Because you had some sort of, strength of will enough to not eat, and then you are malnourished and you fade away and die as a form of protest or something, right? You can override your operative state, but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean it goes away. So men have different operative states than women. Human beings have general operative states. I probably should do a full-on video about your operative states. But again, it's just sort of the natural impulse, like what you need to do to be a human being, like the basics of being a human being. You don't get away from those. Can you rise above them? Can you transcend them? Can you evolve beyond your basic animal needs? Yeah, of course you can, but it doesn't make them go away. So when I talk about how, when I'm talking about cognitive dissonance for women, or I'm talking about hypergamy, or I'm talking about ovulatory shift, or I'm talking about God knows whatever else when it comes to like men, the biological evolved natures of men and women, it's not that I'm saying, oh, it's all biological determinism and you're bound by, by fate and your sex and whatever else to do whatever your biological overlords tell you to do. No, you can override those things, but it doesn't make them go away. Only thing that makes them go away is if you decide to in some way medically alter yourself, which a lot of transgender kids are doing right now. What is it? Hormone blockers, things like that. You can genetically alter yourself. You're probably not going to be able to rewire or change the architecture of your brain. You can find ways to reorganize your breasts and your private parts, right? Your genitalia, but that's not going to change who you are on sort of a biochemical level it takes a lot to really turn somebody from one thing into another, because your operative state, the one that you were born into, is what it is. Again, operative states are something like when I talk about social constructionism, like women, and if you're in sort of one of these woke leftist kind of ideals, and you say, well, gender is just a social construct. Well, then why do we need hormone therapy? Why is it that when we have kids that transition from one sex to another, it's the binary sex? It's not like, oh, I'm transitioning from this gender into this other wild made up gender. It's always I was born the wrong gender, so I'm a boy. I want to be a girl now. That's what it is. Always binary. And how do we do that? And how do we change that? Well, we have to change the hormones. We have to try to find some way to sort of alter the mechanical part, like the hardware. Remember, I talk about hardware, firmware, and software. So now, because you've been convinced through whatever madness by your software that you want to change your hardware, that's great, but it doesn't change your firmware. So your firmware is that those are your natural proclivities as whatever gender or whatever sex you were born at that time. That's your operative state. And the lunacy of the whole thing is that because your software says you're born the wrong sex. Okay, how do I change that? Well, they don't want to. They will never admit that it's actually gender is actually a biological determination. They think that everything is social. Because everything is social, then we can sort of change things up on the fly. We can rewrite the software. But they can't rewrite the they can't rewrite the hardware with software, but they got to find some way to sort of mechanically make you from a boy into a girl or a girl into a boy, whatever. But your operative state is still that your brain is structured in a certain way. Your hormones are structured in a certain way. If you psychologically believe something that you are I don't know, whatever number of 68 or 71 genders there are right now, because it's all a social construct. Well, your operative state doesn't change. And your firmware doesn't change. And you can struggle and cry and piss and moan all you want to about it. But the fact is that the reason why you're discontent is because somebody told you should be discontent, because you think that it's a social convention. If everything's a social convention, we can make up whatever the hell we want to. We can say that, we are birds, right? Or there's you got these guys who want to live like dogs, or you got adult men who want to live like a 4-year-old girl. Well, yeah, in the past, we used to call that insanity. Now we say, it's just everything's a social construct. So we can just do whatever the hell we want. It doesn't change your operative state. Your operative state is you're a fat, overweight, 47-year-old out of work loser who wants special treatment because you want to pretend you're a 4-year-old girl. We used to put those people in asylums. Now we put them on the 6 o'clock news. Now we put them on Vice. They make a video on Vice and everyone, oh, yay, great. Well, anyways, that's operative states. I didn't want to harp on that too much, but that's really what this is about, because I'm bringing this up because a lot of women will say, well, that's just the way that girl is, and it's not all women. And that's real easy to say. Like when I talk about hybristophilia, for example, hybristophilia is the overwhelming tendency, and I would say it's sort of part of women's nature, to be sexually attracted to, aroused by, intimately interested in, let's just say, men who have a capacity for violence, men who have a capacity for antisocial behavior, have dark triad traits, are incarcerated criminals. As a matter of fact, we've had to, I think in the state of California anyways, we cannot put female prison guards in male populations anymore, because that happened so often that they would fall in love with these guys and try to bust them out, that something had to be done about it. And guys, of course, go with it, and that's causes a lot of strife, I guess, in prison communities. I'm not an expert on it. I just know what I've read. But it's only women that are doing that. It's not men that are doing it. Maybe there's homosexuals that do that, but I don't know. I've never seen any. But that seems to be part of women's firmware. Enough so that we need to make rules for it. So what happens is whenever I bring up hybristophilia, women will say, well, those are just damaged women. There's just something wrong with them. It's their social conditioning, right? Well, if they hadn't learned those things, then they wouldn't be like, no, it's only women that do that. So there is a correlation there. Maybe they are damaged. I don't know. But it's only women who are doing it. And if you want to say they're damaged, well, we can look into that. No, we can't. But don't look over here behind this screen. Go over here. Right? And shiny keys. Ching, 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 ching. Look over here. Don't look over here. But that's their operative state, hybristophilia. Same thing with hypergamy. Hypergamy is women's operative state. Now, can women override that? Yes. Religion and social stigmas and lots of things were buffers against the worst atrocities of hypergamy. And one of the reasons why we needed that, we needed patriarchy, we needed religion, we needed social stigmas against single mothers, was to dissuade women from doing exactly what's happening to this guy right now. That's why. That's why we had those stigmas. That's why it was shameful to be a single mother. That's why you had my mother-in-law told me this one time. She said that when a girl got of her generation, which was actually prior to the boomer generation, got pregnant out of wedlock, they had to take that daughter and put her away. She had to go live with her grandparents. She had to go give the baby up for adoption, and then she could be, released back into normal society, I guess, right? Because it was shameful. And in some cultures, even in Muslim cultures, that's it, bringing shame on the family. That's a bad thing. It's still there in some cases. Maybe it's being etched away. Eroded away little by little. But that was meant to avoid exactly this situation that this guy is in. Now, is this guy blameless? No, he was banging some girl. He probably thought it was great, and she was fun in bed. And was it? I was drunk. She was cute, and one thing led to another. Right? Okay. Yeah, that it's untenable, I think, to say, oh, well, no sex before marriage, but you still got to have wisdom. You still have to have some man in your life, some dominant, conventionally masculine guy in your life to sort of direct you. And it's easy when it's all about ideals and living up and holding her hand in the labor or in the delivery room. But it's another thing to have some guy say, you know what? Imagine this. It's easier for me as Rollo Tomassi to say, to explain everything that's happened here. It's way harder for me to meet this guy, realize what's going on between him and this girl, and say, that girl's bad news. Stay out of this. You're mind your own business, nosy, Mr. Busybody, I don't know, whatever the hell, right? You stay the hell out of my life kind of thing. And I've used this example before, is like, if you help somebody like quit smoking or like stop drinking or get off of like heroin or something like that, if you're like help somebody, you're a great friend. But if I go in and I say, dude, that girl's bad news, man. I'm going to help you save your life by getting away from her. That guy will fight you. He will seriously ball up his fist and like punch you in the jaw, because first of all, that's reproductive. That's the operative state, right? That's the reproductive state. What are you talking about? We're in love. Yeah. But you can't say those things. You can't give that kind of advice, because if you do, then suddenly you're a bad friend. And so that's the operative state speech I wanted to give you. The other part is this: is like, are all women? I've had this before. Guys will say some women are more hypergamous than others. No, all women are the same level degree of hypergamy, right? That is their mating strategy. Contextually, socially, religiously, by convictions, by learning, by values, by family, whatever, that is modified by women making decisions, which they simply don't anymore, or they're encouraged to make the opposite decisions. I wonder, and I'm not saying this is true, but I have heard stories about it, and certainly not with this guy, but in some cases you can find online forums for this, where women will encourage other women to find some way to convince the other guy that the baby is theirs when it's not. That's how you get that Maury Povich stuff, right? The baby's not yours. And the guy's like, yeah, it's not mine. Woo! And there's this party. And I think that is what most women's impression of like cuckoldry is all about. Like it's indignation. It's very sad. It's red meat, right? It's very satisfying to say, oh man, he dodged a bullet. Yeah. Now you can go out and party. And she's stuck with the baby. And the guy that she was really getting after it with, the guy who was the bad long-term prospect, you're the good long-term prospect because you're cute and you're making money and you got your shit together. But the guy that she actually bred with, now she's got to go and deal with that guy, and she's not going to get any money out of him because he's a deadbeat. He's the alpha. Maybe he was the alpha who she couldn't lock down, but she knew you're a better prospect than him for the long term. Now, all of that, if you go and you take that sort of dynamic where the woman goes, okay, as I've said before, when it comes to hypergamy, it's alpha seed and beta need. Women don't look for that in the same guy anymore. They used to. It used to be a priority. I'm sure if it dropped in their lap, they'd be happy to have it. If you had a guy who was, a full up, natural alpha, who was dependable and had all the good best qualities of sort of like the dependable beta guy or the beta provider guy, the beta bucks guy, she would probably love that because he's the total package, right? But women don't even look for that anymore, because right now that beta buck side of hypergamy is more or less, at least women perceive that side of it is already more or less taken care of for them. Now the alpha seed side, that's something that's a challenge. That's fun. That's seen as like, I don't know why it's like a moth to the flame, right? I don't know why I keep going back. It's so dangerous. Oh, but I love it. It's so great. It's exhilarating. It's fun, until she hits 30. And now she looks for a guy like this. Now she looks for that guy. because he's dependable. He's cute. He's got his shit together. He's got a cross around his neck. He loves his mother. He loves his puppy dogs. He was there in the delivery room, helping. We're pregnant. No, you're not. Never say that, guys. Never say we're pregnant. She's pregnant. You got her pregnant, but you both are not pregnant. She is the one that's delivering that child. Simple as that. And I don't mean that as like, the reason why women will say we're pregnant is because exactly trying to solidify this idea that we're sort of in this team kind of thing. There's no better Oprah-esque way of saying, I'm going to have a baby than we're pregnant. So I'm gonna play the rest of this real quick here. I will start taking some questions here. We're getting down towards the 1:30 mark on this particular show. I wanted to throw those ideas out there because primarily this was probably the part where I kind of got the lump in my throat, because it seemed like he really wanted to be the dad. And if you go and you read the responses from the women that are in this video right here, they would love nothing better than to like make this guy their husband, right? Or make him a father or whatever. And so what's funny to me is that even in doing this, he's being pre-selected by other women. Like for a guy like this, like here, this is the kind of guy, like he's a good looking guy, right? I mean, this is the kind of guy that women will say, wait for me. Like, if neither one of us are married by the time we're 30, then let's promise to get married. Like, he's a great guy, but he's still kind of got that beta mindset in that he's very idealistic. He's very blue pill. I'm not going to say he's alpha or beta at this point. I do think he's very blue pill. And that blue pill kind of comes out every now and then. I'm not saying it's just because he's emotional. Anybody's going to be emotional. Even the most alpha guy in the world will probably I think a more alpha guy would probably get more pissed off than this guy is. And maybe he did. Maybe he's just not doing that on camera here. But I think a more alpha response wouldn't be so much crying and emotionality as it would be like just being absolutely raging pissed off because you've invested so much emotion. Your family has, your friends have. I mean, he's got close to 1 million subs that were probably sharing along this journey of pregnancy with a 22-year-old kid. And he was doing the right thing. He was exceptional because of that. We expect a guy like this to bail, right? We expect, as far back as the 80s, we would expect a guy to just, give up his interest in the child, which of course you can't do now, or he couldn't do it then because of the child support laws. But this was a guy who thought, oh, my whole life is going to change. And my family's life is going to change. My mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters and everything else. And now we find out that it is just horseshit.
So, anyways, later that day, Monday night, come to find out, her mom, I guess, is trying to text me, trying to tell me like I'm so sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me, like, and I'm just like, to me it's just, there's no like, she went from I haven't messed with this dude for 1 year and 6 months to 2 years, to then she switched it to she said an irrelevant and I forgot what was the other word, meetup with him in August, that I would have never thought would even be a factor to that. To then now she has said like a day ago that she met up with him a week before she told me she was 5 weeks pregnant. And to me it's like, and she just doesn't understand, it just doesn't make sense to her. And to me it's like, how in the fuck do you expect me to believe that you met up with this dude a week? Even if you did, you probably just like, I don't know what the fuck, where the fuck her head is at. I don't know if she's literally mentally, what the fuck is going on with her. But I just know that she psychologically, I feel like, psyched herself out that I was a father, knowing that there was a possibility that somebody else could be the father, a whole boyfriend to be exact, not just no random nigga, a whole boyfriend that you purposely didn't say nothing to me about. Nothing. Not even one word. Not even, oh yeah, I had a boyfriend, but we didn't mess around. She didn't even lie like that. She didn't even care to barely lie. She just straight out just fucking Nah, like, you're the dad. What pressed me when I would ask for a DNA test, and it was just like the craziest thing because, yeah, that's, now you see what happened. So, yeah, she just kept saying, I'm sorry. I would never do this on purpose. And it's like, to me, it's like, I can't believe that you wouldn't do this on purpose, because if you wouldn't do this on purpose, you would have told me there's a possibility that you could not be the father, but I do believe you're the father. Let's just get a DNA test that, you know what I'm saying, you don't suffer when the fuck when you find out that this daughter is not yours. So,
All right, I'm gonna hold it up right there real quick. Put this up. There we go. So now you're getting the explanation here, because he confronted her and says, hey, how is it that I'm like that unimportant to you that you would go through? I mean, remember this. Okay, remember all those videos in the very beginning of this video, the gender reveal party, and his family, you know, sort of supporting him and him going through all this stuff, and yet she said she would never do this on purpose. But that's a very elaborate commitment to have it not be something that's just sort of on a whim, or like, you know, oh, I didn't mean it, you know, haha, sorry, no hard feelings, you know, that kind of stuff. And you, like, again, like, women will say, well, she's young and she's damaged, or something's wrong with this girl, or it's his fault. Well, we'll find some way to turn it around on him, saying like, well, you know, you shouldn't have banged her then. You should have just kept it in your pants, man. Well, what about what about the other boyfriend? What about who knows who else she's been with? Right? Is it on them or is it on her? Because ultimately, she's the one who gets to decide whether a child is born or not. Because once the sperm leaves your body, you are 100% powerless. And you can see that powerlessness here for this guy. And that sometimes that powerlessness isn't just like, it's your baby, or I got you. It's, I got you, and you, I don't actually have you, but you think I got you, so I'm going to go with it. And this is a person who is ready to build a life based on a lie. This is, and that's where we're at right now. And I'm not trying to turn this into something that's moralistic. I'm just trying to say that this is the level of investment that women have when they see something like this. Right? Like, for instance, you know, you're getting after it with Jeff Bezos, and then you're getting after it with the hot guy in the foam cannon party. You get pregnant. It could be Jeff Bezos's baby, but it more likely is probably the hot guy's baby. Who are you going to say if there's any question as to which kid it must be? You're not going to go, oh, well, a woman's not going to say this. She's not going to go, well, I'm going to need a DNA test first so I can determine who the actual father is. Can we do that? Can we do that in utero? I don't know if you can do that in utero. Maybe you can. But either way, if there was a mandatory DNA test, and you want to talk about something that's going to really, like, guys will ask me this all the time. They'll say, Rollo, do you think that if there was a male birth control, like, that wasn't like going to mess with your hormones and make your dick shrivel up or something like that? If there was some kind of male birth control that was, you know, like a male form of the pill, right? If it was as effective as the pill is for women, if there was something like that for men, do you think that would fundamentally change society? And I've always said, probably not majorly. In a minor way it might, but I don't think it would be as big a deal as all of that. But I would say that one thing that will change society in a big way with respect to reproduction is to require that all live births have a DNA test. Because, and I'll explain to you why that is, and I've got to bring this up here too, just so that you can. I will come back to the video, but let me. I need to show you this other one here. Now, this is from my post called Children of Men, and I'm going to just really briefly read this to you guys so you understand what I'm talking about. There it is. Okay, so this is from Family Law Free Advice. Okay, oh gosh, you guys can't see that. Here it is. Okay, so this is what it says, just so you can get an idea. It says, children born during a marriage, the husband is presumed to be the father of a child born or during or after his marriage to the mother. In some states, there is an irrefutable presumption of paternity. Like that. This means that if a child is born during the marriage, you will be deemed the father, even if DNA later says otherwise. This is the bullet. This is the seriousness of the bullet that jcook avoided. Other states allow you to rebut or challenge paternity if you comply within strict time limits to challenge paternity. If you consent to your divorce being finalized without contesting paternity, you will forever be deemed the father. This presumption cannot be rebutted, even if you didn't have reason to believe the child was not yours. Once a judgment or order decrees that you are the father of the child, challenging the judgment with an appeal or motion, even on the grounds of fraud, is very time sensitive and difficult. Children born before the marriage. Remember, this is after and during. This is I use this example in my. I use this example in that the Children of Men post, because this is the difference between proactive cuckoldry and reactive, or proactive and retroactive cuckoldry. Children born before the marriage. Some states impose a presumption of paternity on putative fathers. This applies when a child is born before marriage. After birth, you agree either to have your name on the birth certificate to support the child, or you welcome the child into your home and openly tell people the child is your own. Essentially, if you tell everyone you are the father, then the courts will agree. Some states do not, or some states do allow you to contest or challenge this presumption as well. However, the time window is in which you must challenge the presumption is usually very strict. So I thought that was pretty important to show you guys there. That was from family-law.freeadvice.com. So you can get an idea about how paternity works in the United States. And again, remember, this is state by state. This isn't just like, it's not a federal mandate or something like that. But there's certain things that you can and cannot do as a father. And I have encountered a lot of guys who have said that they found out that the baby wasn't theirs. The mama went back. I've read stories about this. The mama went back to the original father to get with that guy. And the guy who was her first husband, who was the original quote unquote father, ended up having to pay child support for that kid. I have read stories of where women have been rapists, right? Statutory rape. They were like, say, 24, and they had sex with a kid who was like 14, 15, 16, and a child resulted as a result of that copulation. And the 16-year-old kid is now on the hook for child support for the rest of his life. That is where we are in a gynocentric society. Those are the rules. So when ladies say, well, he should have kept it in his pants, even if I can show, and matter of fact, in the state of Arizona, I can show you cases where women have been in marriages. They had gone to fertility clinics trying to get pregnant. The guy gave sperm samples. They subsequently got divorced or didn't want to, go forward anymore. I guess the couple split up. And of course, female judges rule in favor of the ex-wife so that she can use the sperm samples that they gave to the fertility clinic while they were still married. So even after your sperm leaves your body in cryogenic freeze, it's still not your own. Legislatively speaking, I'll go and see if I can dig up the link to that. It's actually it was a landmark case. I remember when it came out. I think it was in 2018 when I read that. But it's true. So even your own sperm is not your own sperm, that's a gynocentric social order. That is what I call the war on paternity, and that is an essay that I've got in the description down there below. I'm going to just give you the last little bit of this. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it sort of gets a little repetitive later on in the end of it, but I think you guys get the gist of this. So let me grab the rest of this real quick.
To me, I have no sympathy towards her, no remorse. I think it's crazy too because she literally accepted all her little Instagram followers like pretty much the same week that I told her that I was about to take the DNA test. She went and took this little girl to get her ears pierced by herself when I told her I was going to get a DNA test. She held her from me for a couple of days to almost a week when I got back from LA, when I told her I was going to get a DNA test. And once again, like I specifically told her, I'm not trying to be disrespectful any way, shape, or form. It's for me. It's for my peace of mind. So to me, when I put all these little things together and like how everything just makes sense, like it makes sense as to why you never wanted to go to court. I'm going to be straight up with y'all. I wanted to put myself on child support, right? I didn't want to be the nigga that where the girl tells you, oh yeah, I'm not going to put you on child support. I don't care for all that, blah, 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 because that's exactly what she was saying. And then 2-3 years later down the road, she finds a reason to get mad at me. And now I get put on child support and she gets to choose. Her and the judge get to choose what they want to put me on for. So I, being straight up with y'all, maybe it's too much information, tried putting myself on child support. I tried saying, yo, look, let's take this to the court. You know what I'm saying? Me and my mom, you know what I'm saying, knows all legal shit. Let me put myself on like a $500 a month child support. You know what I'm saying? I still am going to provide everything outside of the child support, but I'm saying just so that I don't have to worry about you getting mad at me about some shit and then putting me on like a $5,000 child support, because I make good money, you guys, and that's possible. So it's like I literally was trying to do that. When I tried to do that, when a lot of people know if somebody's going to get put on child support, you need a DNA test. She denied all that shit, said she didn't want to deal with none of the court shit, blah, blah, blah. Makes sense as to why she never got mad about nothing. Me having a girlfriend or shit like that, when you think that would low-key kind of make like a baby mom mad because there's a girl around the daughter, blah, blah, blah. I feel like her fear of me, like the same way a dude fears getting put on child support is the same way I feel that she feared me getting a DNA test and finding out that I wasn't the dad. I feel like she literally, like I said, y'all, she psychologically psyched herself out and wanted to believe that I was a dad for whichever case it was. I'm not going to say that none of this was because of money, none of it was because of clout, none of that, because I really don't think it was that. I think it was just the fact that she felt like when it came down to who's going to be a better father figure for this little girl, she just wanted to believe that I was going to be. And I did. Like, I stepped up, you know what I'm saying? Like, I did my part. And a lot of people, like, you know what I'm saying, say shit like,
there we go. Sorry, I had my muted once again. So that's it for that part right there. I wanted to end that with the last part of my notes here today, which is when we have guys who are fed on, especially idealistic young men, when they're fed on this idea of do the right thing, that plays into the feminine imperative. I've written extensively about this in the fourth book about how we insist that men assume responsibility. In fact, if you go and you look at any TradCon media, you go and look at like Prager University, you go and look at some of these other I forget the other there's another source I was looking at the other day. But if you look at PragerU, for example, Candace Owens, the rest of these girls, everything is about responsibility. Even Tommy Lahren, right? Men aren't men anymore. Well, why not? Well, they need to man up. Okay. What do they need to do to man up? They need to take on more responsibility, because men are like, they're like bitches now, right? They're like, they don't want to do anything. They have no ambition, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what happens is there's going to be guys who are going to resist that, right? The MGTOW side, like the doomers are going to be like, yeah, screw you, bitch. I'll do what I want to, kind of thing. Then there's the guys who adopt that and get sucked into that because it sounds like purpose. It sounds like something they're supposed to do. That's old order thinking, by the way, which is, oh, you man up and assume more and more responsibility. Well, the problem with the old order ideal of responsibility is it used to come with a commensurate level of authority as well. This guy was ready to sign up for child support of a child that was not his. Now, the only reason she didn't want that was because, well, first of all, she probably knew that if she waited long enough, he would end up forming really strong emotional bonds with this kid. And one way or the other, whether he found out or he didn't, the most dangerous thing to this girl is that he would find out that he's not the father. And as I said before, if you go and you look at the responses, whenever you see things like this, the superheroes, the guys who are convinced themselves and are convinced and reinforced by a feminine social order, is that if you go and it doesn't matter, if it doesn't matter to you who the father is and you just want to be the father, then you're a hero. That's you taking responsibility. You're taking another man's responsibility. You're forgiving this woman for basically trying to cuckold you and change your life, like substantially, like long term. Screw with your life. It's literally like remember what he said in the beginning here, where he was saying, I feel like somebody's been somebody died. Yeah, the guy that you thought you were going to become, that guy died, and now you're back being the other guy you were before. And and of course there's the girl too, the little girl. Like now the little girl who you saw born, who you saw turn, you were there at the instant she was brought to life. Wasn't your kid, but you thought it was your kid, and you thought that this is where my life changes. And it does, but not the way you thought it was. But you still thought that at that time. And that's really messed. That is a mind job like you wouldn't believe, ladies, if you're watching this. And again, like I said before, there are forums of how better to deceive, how better to betray men to do the right thing. Right? I'm sure I could probably find you examples on particular forums of women getting together for trying to figure out how to trick boyfriends into commitment by buying positive pregnancy tests. There's actually a black market for that, by the way. And there's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing illegal about a black market positive pregnancy test to convince your boyfriend that he's actually the daddy. And he better marry you, or he better man up, even if pregnancy never occurs. Frighten him enough to do that. You'll frighten him away, or you'll frighten him into marriage, and that's no way to start any kind of long-term relationship. So, but that's based on the idealistic idea, the old order idea that men need to man up and take more responsibility. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take responsibility for yourself, obviously, but that sense of honor, that sense of duty, which can be smashed in your brain by, guys who, like, well-meaning blue pill alphas will be happy to smash that into the brains of this generation of men, and will pat them on the back for assuming responsibilities that they had no real liability for in the first place. And so you're a superhero if you take on a single mom with 3 kids from 2 different fathers, and you're doing the right thing. You're not the guy, you're not the stepdad, you're the dad who stepped up, right? That guy? No, you're signing up for your own cuckoldry. You're signing up for that. Well, what about adoption? Okay, well, I'm not talking about adoption right now. At least adoption, you have the choice. At least you know that the kid is not yours. This guy didn't. He did. That decision was made for him. Or it would have been made for him had he not had the wherewithal, I guess, to go and get a DNA test. In fact, he's saying the only reason he got the DNA test was so he could sign himself up for child support. That's how idealistic and how locked into that, Candace Owens, Prager University. Oh, we got to take more responsibility because that's what makes you a real man. And that's the way we sell responsibility to kids these days. That's the way, young men anyways. That's how we sell responsibility to young men. You'll be a man if you do what I tell you to do. Oh, you got married? Here's your man medal. Here's your man badge. Your merit badge. Your man merit badge. Oh, you're going to marry a single mom. Here you get even better man. You're a real man. Does these things. Anytime you see that, like a real man does X. First of all, that's manipulation. Second of all, what they're manipulating you with is the impression that they hold the definition, that they hold the man medal. They hold the award for being a man. Oh, men don't know what masculinity is these days, but let me tell you guys, a real man does X. Oh, good. I'll do those things. Here's your badge. Oh, you're signing up for child support for a child that's not yours or that you don't know yet is yours. And the girlfriend or the whatever, the mommy is sort of hesitant to have you get that DNA test. Oh, you live in a country where DNA, finding out that you're not actually the biological father, it's illegal for medical professionals to tell you that. Wow, don't put that aside, because if you do, you'll get this shiny man badge. I have the key to manhood. Here it is. Oh, good. I'm a man now because I accepted responsibility for something that I had nothing to do with. So that's the legal side of things. That's the social side of things. When I lose my shit about responsibility versus authority, when I have challenged Candace Owens, I've challenged PragerU, I've challenged all these guys to have a debate with me about the difference between Suzanne Vanker, about the differences between responsibility versus authority. What is it? Where did it go? Oh, no. Oh, there it is. There's the crickets. That's what I get back. I get the crickets. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to have that discussion because their entire, moral framework falls apart when you say, you know what? Responsibility implies that there's supposed to be authority that goes along with that. And it used to be that way. But we don't want to do that. God forbid we give authority to men. Because if we did, then we wouldn't have child support. Then we would actually have mandatory DNA. If men had power, if men had real authority, particularly when it comes to reproduction, we would have mandatory DNA tests. That would already be there. And that would be a deterrent for women to do exactly what Justice Cook's girlfriend did to him. But we're proud of him for wanting to step up. We're proud of him for finding his manhood or whatever, or being the guy who stepped up. Right? He even said that I don't want to be the guy that that leaves this girl hanging. I don't want to. Maybe he was saying, I don't want to be on the hook for $5,000 when I'm already paying money for child support because of that. And again, the only reason she wanted to turn that down was not because she didn't want the money, probably, was because she didn't want to get found out that the baby wasn't his. So the only time it's mandatory, remember what I just read to you in the family law on paternity thing there. If he'd waited long enough, she probably would have filed for it anyways, because there's nothing he can do after a certain amount of time. If he goes around, as I read just a moment to you ago, and this is actually from an Arizona thing, right? If he had waited and had told other people publicly, like he was, like up until this point, on his channels, on his family and everything, church and his work, whatever. He publicly said, "This is my baby. It's your baby. Now it's yours." And after a while, he couldn't contest it. The thing that caught her, the best part of this whole thing, is he got it early. If he hadn't done it early, we wouldn't have this. Wouldn't be a Rollo Tomassi video, that's for sure. Because we wouldn't be talking about it. You're screwed. You made the wrong choices. At least, and wow, here's why I wanted to sort of dissect this video. You saw it happen in real time. This is what was going on. So ladies, when you go, well, that doesn't always the case. Here it is, black and white. This is the guy. This is what happened. This is how it progresses. And if he hadn't done it when he did, then he would be a much different conversation than we're having right now. So that's the responsibility side of things. And then last but not least, it's this appeal to duty and honor. It's this, again, something I've also written about. I have this, there's an essay I have, and it's actually a chapter in book 1. It's called the honor system. And men are supposed to be honorable, right? And that's the honorable right thing to do. He did the right thing for the wrong reason, but he was doing the right thing. Like he was supposed to do that. He was supposed to, you're supposed to man up and take responsibility for your kids. And yeah, okay. When they're your kids. But that, again, that's the biological side of this whole thing. Why is that a fear? And I mean that in a justifiable fear. I don't mean like, oh, I'm afraid. That's not what I mean. Let's not even call it fear. Why is that a caution? Why is there a hesitancy? Why is there is that really my kid? Like when you have that kind of suspicion, I don't think enough guys listen to their instincts. When guys tell me like, oh, Rollo, I'm thinking about going through her phone because I think she's cheating on me. Well, my first question isn't, yeah, I think you should do that. Or what do you think's happened? What I ask them is, why do you think that? Why do you feel that way? Why is that an instinctual response to you? Because usually when guys are suspicious of their girlfriend cheating on them or whatever, remember, that's mate guarding. She's out there. I believe that she's out there with some other guy. And okay, but why is it that would be a concern to a human male on planet Earth? Because he doesn't want to get cuckolded. Why do men mate guard? Because they don't want to get cuckolded. Why do men get jealous? Because they don't want to get cuckolded. Why do men feel a natural revulsion towards single mommies and for slutty girls? Because they don't want to get cuckolded. Because all of their reproductive efforts that they would spend on a single mommy or on a girl who is easy and goes out and bangs other guys, because of that goes back to the existential fear for men, which is, I don't want to put all of my efforts and energies, or I don't want to compromise my own sexual strategy for a dead end, for an evolutionary dead end. And how do you know that? Because all the guys that came before you that got jealous, that mate guarded, that had those concerns, that had those revulsions, they went on to reproduce, and the ones that didn't. And that's where I end this. So let me go and pick up the super chats here real quick. Tom Brokaw, I already talked to you. CT, $5 says, ex-wife of 12 years pulled up to me at stoplight. I honked and waved, but she ignored me. Good riddance. Okay, good. Okay. Hope you feel good about that. Great. You should, but there you go. Jonathan Bennett says, I have bought all of your books on Audible. Okay. Thank you. Read by the infamous Sam Bada, who is my moderator in today's chat, just so you know. Everybody say hi to Sam. He is the voice of the Rational Male. The Rational Male, both platforms would just like a shout out. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you. That was Jonathan Bennett. There's your $25 shout out. Yeah, thank you. And I hope you enjoy the audiobooks. Pass it on. And if you feel so inclined, please give me a 5-star review on Amazon. That would be awesome. Ola Michelson, maybe that's how it is. Ola. My favorite guitarist. What is the solution? Hold on 1 minute. Magic 8 Ball. What is the solution? You're fucked. Okay, sorry. Well, this is going to be demonetized, so I don't know what the solution is, man. The solution is there's two solutions. The first one is the meteorite hits the world and we reform the society from the ashes of the old. We go full Thundar the Barbarian. Okay. The meteorite passes between the moon and the earth, and the gravity is offset and it destroys everything. And now we live in Gamma world. That's one option, or something similar to it. The other is you take the power back. That's the option that men and women fear, because men would actually have to step up. You want to know what real stepping up is? It's stepping up and reassuming and taking over the authority, and being willing to fight for that, being willing to go to jail for that, being willing to make a public statement about that. Because until that happens, we are going to live in a gynocentric social order where guys are going to eagerly sign up for child support because they think it's the right thing to do. Each one tell one. Like I said, when it comes to change, I am a bottom up guy. Okay. It's not top down. That's the mistake that MRAs make. They believe that it is, well, we're going to go and we're going to change those laws. Be my guest. You've done nothing in the last 120 years, Mr. MRA guy. But maybe you've made a few inroads, oh, well, we got women in we thought we were going to get women drafted. That doesn't change society fundamentally. Changing men's minds, making men red pill aware. Watching this video, right? And I'm only one guy. I'm one guy. You guys have to help me. Everybody has to. We got to form a brotherhood. This guy was just talking a minute ago. We got to form a brotherhood. The problem with that is there's no sisterhood uber alles. There's no brotherhood uber alles for guys. Because guys, we have a different mating strategy, right? It's all about dominance and competence. We want to get ahead in life. And sometimes that means getting ahead. You got to be the crab that's at the top of the barrel before you get pulled back in. I don't think there's going to be anything that is even remotely like the solidarity that women have innately, because we had different evolutionary paths as men and women, our firmware anyways. Now, is that going to change? I could. I wish it would. I wish we had enough people who were teaching next generation that you want to know how we're going to change things. Teach the next generation of guys not to fall into the same crap that jcook did. He says, in Norway, alimony doesn't exist. My monthly child support is $390. I guess that's dollars. And my daughter has visitation rights to me. Yeah. I wish I had a solution for you, Ola, because you have a cool name, but I wish I had something. I wish I had a magic button. I wish I had a plan to tell you how this could work. Maybe that's something I need to work on. Maybe I need to make up. People keep saying, well, Rollo, you don't have any prescription. Maybe I need to work on that. Maybe at least I give you some guidelines based on this kind of stuff. I've been certainly analyzing stuff for long enough. Where the hell did that go? I don't want that to get away from me here. That's Olaf Phillips says black pilled AF. As I said, this is red meat and it's doomer pill stuff. Manuel says S to spit on his grave. S to spit on his grave. Garth Connell, $20. Thank you, Garth. Much appreciated. The Hawk, or the HVK, I guess. Maybe that's it. Good content, Rollo. Paternity fraud is just as bad as rape. Yeah, it can be, because funny. Yeah, it lasts as long as rape, which is pretty much a lifetime, assuming it's real rape. And we have an objective definition of what rape is, but it has the same effect in that it is a lifetime thing. And in some ways I would say it's worse than rape, but I would say that it's as impactful as rape, because you have lived your entire life and have pretty much rearranged your life around a lie, around an invasion, right? What do women always say? I feel like I've been violated. Well, this guy, jcook, just avoided being violated for the rest of his life, and in many different ways. Imagine this. Imagine jcook he assumes responsibility for this kid. He never finds out that it's his DNA. He goes through life believing that his daughter is his daughter, or this girl is his daughter, and his mom and dad treat her like a granddaughter. His sister treats her like a niece. They love her to death. They probably did. That was the hardest part of this video for me, by the way. It was like when they were saying goodbye to this little girl that they'd all gone through the last year and a half believing was going to be his daughter. They had already formed emotion. They were watching the kid. The kid was there with him. That's his kid. We love her. We love her to death. We can't get away from her. And you know what? That is what women rely on when it comes to stuff like that. Well, she's your daughter. That's why it seems so like when women try to convince men that paternity shouldn't be important to them, and men are like really just anger and frustration, and they don't understand why they feel that way. It's because you evolved that way. It's because that's your natural, your natural response, your reflexive response to that. First of all, men they don't want to get cucked, but the other thing is that once they do get cucked, they form emotional investments in that kid because they believe it's their genetic legacy. Here it is. This is the most important thing in my life. It's the most important thing for my parents. It's the most important thing for my sister, my brother, my friends, whatever. And now not only do you look like an idiot, and because you trusted this girl, they won't give her any grief. They won't say you're a skank. They won't, like, she's got it on, she's got responsibilities now, and the best thing they can do is just get away from this girl. But in reality, since we're turning over all of these rocks here, like no one wants to say, well, she's just bad for having. They don't want to make a moral judgment. God forbid we ever judge a woman's character or ever judge a woman's actions, because you don't want to be judgmental of women. Only men you only get to be judgmental of men. You do not get to be judgmental of women. Women sometimes get to be judgmental of each other, but very rarely. And God forbid a man was the one who brought it up, because anything that a man says that's unflattering, as true and as empirical and as God's truth from heaven above, if you have a penis and you say that, you're a bad man. You're judgmental. You're mental. Let's see. the Hawk, I got to you. Stefan Bro says, how much you want to bet one of those mothers, his or hers, knew the baby was his kid? I guarantee you this. It says, let me finish the rest of it. It says, at least one of them probably suspected it. They probably couldn't bring themselves to tell him. I would say with almost 100% certainty that the girlfriend's, the mother's mother knew about it. Almost 100% certain of it. And maybe there was some conversation between the two of them, but they weren't saying anything. I don't think it was a surprise to the mom, because even the mom was harshing on jcook when he wanted to get the DNA. So she probably knew something, but he's too nice not to say. Even her mom was in on it. Or even if he suspected it, he wouldn't even say it. Because, and at the end of the video, he's like, it's like, what's done is done. I'm going to go move on, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to live my life, yada, yada, yada. Like, it didn't affect him. Well, no, it's okay, man. It affected you. It's okay. Right. I think people get, well, let me read the rest of these here. It says, Gabriel Roveda says, Rollo, is the subconscious actually our instinct part of it? Subconscious can also be our firmware. Instinctually, like for instance, even your rational side can be part of your subconscious. Just depends on how well you, like, what you prioritize. Most men are taught to prioritize their emotions, and that was getting back to what I was saying before. Is that just because I say I tell guys that you need to get back to prioritizing reason above emotion, that doesn't mean, and stop it with the damn binary extremes. Okay, that doesn't mean Rollo Tomassi says, oh, we all need to be Mr. Spock. We all need to just be as rational, as pragmatic as possible. First of all, that's impossible for you to do. As a human being, you are going to feel emotions, and there's nothing wrong with you feeling emotions. It's when you prioritize those things. It's when that's your first response as a guy. It's when you live your life with your emotions on your sleeve, and it's like, I'm going to follow my heart. You sound like a Disney princess when you start talking about stuff like that. That's how I know when a guy has been thoroughly feminized, because he prioritizes emotion before reason. That doesn't mean just kill off your emotional self. It's useless. Screw it all. I'm just going to be this emotionless robot. That you can't do that. First of all, you will never be able to do that. What you have to do is stop prioritizing emotion before reason. It's not saying you get back to your innate proclivity, which is instinct, reason, and emotion. Get this job done. Process the information, use what you've learned, use it pragmatically, use it rationally, think about things, appeal to your own reason, and then decide how you feel about those things. It's not that because you will at some point decide how you feel about things. It's when that controls you that you start making emotional decisions. That's exactly what this guy was going to do. That's exactly what jcook was going to do. Put me on put me on child support, 500. I feel like I should. That's what I really feel. When people say, when they start talking about, they prioritize feelings, they will say, how do you feel about this? Or what's the feeling you're getting? Or what they will even use the word feeling or emotion before anything else. I don't care how you feel about things. I care about how your grasp of understanding reality, objective, empirical reality. And then I would like to know how you feel about things, but I don't want you to say, oh, well, how do I feel about them? That's not, no. What are we seeing here? What's the information? What's the problem we need to solve? Can we solve it? Yes. Okay. Can we not? Yes. Okay. Well, how do I feel about it? Great. We've already processed the information, and now we can move on to emotion. Instinct, reason, and emotion. For women, it's the opposite. It's instinct, emotion, and reason. That's why it's like crying, and that's why it's joy. That's why, fear. It's all this feeling. Express yourself, emotion. You need to be more emotionally available. And if they get to reason, then it's usually that reason is something that is rationalization to back up the emotion. That's the process for women and men who think like women. Christian Matico said it right. From the book MLD, book of MLD. These garden tools are for the streets. Okay, thank you. Stop using that term. She's for the streets. That's an easy way to dismiss a problem or dismiss thinking about what that woman's actions imply to you. She's for the streets. That's emotion. That's you being flippant. That's you blowing off something or laughing about something. And maybe you don't want to concern yourself with it because it's too stupid and too trivial. Okay, fine. But at least process it first and say, you know what? She did what she did because that's women's nature. I have no idea. You just threw in. Oh, Daniel Roman, thanks for that $5, brother. I got another guy here who is giving me a bunch of random things. He said, so appreciate all of your work. It has me realize my previous behaviors were correct with understanding. It becomes a tool to be used. Thank you. Yes. Good. I hope good. That means it's sinking in. I don't do prescriptions. I give you tools. And then the same guy, Daniel Roman gave me this. And then another one from the guy whose name is a bunch of random numbers. 989, he says, experience late break at 23. Can happen. I think it's happening later, honestly. Zeroed me out, searching for answers, finding the red pill, never had problem, getting women, but was a blue pill alpha. Now with red pill lens, I'm realizing myself. Good for you. Rydal says, what it mean when a 23-year-old HB9 pushing for an LTR with me? I don't know. Isn't that prime cock carousel age? I'm 28 years old. Well, there's a lot of things that could be going on. First of all, you're subjectively thinking that she's an HB9. Maybe she's an HB9 in your local market, but maybe not in the global market. You're 28 years old, so you are technically 5 years older than her. So your prime demographic, she's going to be looking for a guy that is between 3 to 7 years older than you are, or older than she is. So that's probably what's going on. If she's pushing for an LTR with you, maybe there is something that you represent to her that is worth her thinking in terms of long term. So what do? I don't know. It's up to you, man. Use your tools. Wraith says, used to go to kink sex clubs, and a lot of women identify as feminists, masking this to their public life because lens. I was confused, then I laughed. Good for you. Giuseppe De Fraia, once again, he gives me this one. I'm assuming you're Italian, so I'm just going to go with this. I got a moral dilemma. You do, huh? In many patriarchal cultures, they oppress women to control hypergamy, and other female behaves. But sometimes they use atrocious methods like the stoning and acts of violence. I understand, but what are some of these? Dude, every time you come on my show, or you come on Rich's show, or you come on Rule Zero, or sometimes you follow me over to John's, it's always the same thing. Women are being brutalized by men. What's the solution to this? I have a moral dilemma. How is this a moral dilemma? There's no moral dilemma in this. In many patriarchal cultures, they oppress women. Do they oppress them? Is what you think of as oppression, is that a buffer against women's nature? So to control hypergamy, is it oppression or is it a buffer? Now, here's the thing you need to understand. I wrote about this in my book, and I'm quoting here, but patriarchy is a balanced system. Whereas gynocentrism, feminism, is a gynocentric system. It is one-sided, whereas patriarchy, as I was saying before, remember what I was talking about when I was talking about responsibility? Under classical patriarchy, it was balanced because men had responsibility that was commensurate with authority. So when women say we were oppressed, no, men had authority over them because men's sexual strategy preempted women's sexual strategy right up until the sexual revolution, when everything went to hell. Now we have hypergamy. You want the flip side of patriarchy it's the gynocentric social order that we're in right now. because women have control over reproduction. Whereas under patriarchy, there's still a semblance, at least, of balance. And women will say, well, it's oppressive. That's horrible. It's repressing me. Repressing you from what? What did it oppress you from? From having 100% complete unilateral control over the human reproductive process. That's what it was repressing you from. It was repressing you and holding women back from exercising hypergamy in its ultimate optimized form. It was repressing women. It was holding women back from creating a social order based on fulfilling women's insecurities, fulfilling women's reproductive imperatives. That's why we're talking about this guy today. That's why you get, and thus, because that buffer is completely gone, because all that repression and oppression is gone, now you got a guy like jcook. Now you have a guy like, now we have laws that prohibit men from knowing whether or not the baby is theirs when healthcare professionals find out that the DNA isn't theirs. Now we have, and guess what? Even when they do find out, there's no repercussion. Women are completely absolved of any liabilities, mostly. I mean, in the rare case, I will see something where like a woman has to pay like $150,000 back. Whereas the guys like probably kick down like, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million over the course of like 18 years, maybe 20 years, put the kid through college, blah, 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 blah. It's not my kid. I'm going to sue you. Okay. Well, you're right. You got us. Here's 150 grand. I guess it's better than nothing, right? But we live in a gynocentric social order that is basically the inversion of patriarchy. I want to say it is, but it's not, because patriarchy was balanced. Men had authority over women and children under patriarchy, but they also were expected. There's a social expectation of responsibility. That's why you hear Candace Owens and PragerU and all these other tradcons say the same thing. Oh, we need men to man up and be more masculine and assume more responsibilities. Great. Let's talk about authority. No, we can't do that. That would lead to oppression. No, what that would lead to is a challenge to the power that women have over the entirety, the unilateral power over the reproductive direction of humanity right now. That's what it would lead to. That's what women fear. I talked about the existential fear of men today about being cuckolded. The existential fear of women is to be forced into reproducing with a man that they don't choose. That's why rape is such a big deal to women, because they don't want to have the baby of a man who they didn't get to say, yeah, that's the guy I want to reproduce with. So we arrange a whole social order around the fact that we need to in some way fulfill women's mating strategy. And we'll make laws, abortion laws, we'll make divorce laws, we'll make child support laws, make all these laws like jcook was ready to sign up for. We'll make all these laws so that we can fulfill that. So that's not repression. That's not oppression. If anything, it's the opposite. Because it basically puts men into a state of slavery, because responsibility without authority is the definition of slavery. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to go on whatever it is, the Good Morning America. We don't want to go on a live talk show and actually have that conversation, because that would wake up a lot of guys. That would piss off a lot of guys. And sometimes they use atrocious methods like stoning and acts of violence. Yeah, they have. It's not to say that patriarchy has been perfect, okay? And why would they do those things? To dissuade women from trying to cuckold them. Yes, it's bad. Yes, it's tyrannous. Yes, it's violent. Yes, it could kill these. But in the past, that was the only way to teach that lesson. How do we do that now? How do we stop women from cuckolding? How do we stop a girl doing exactly what happened to jcook? In the past, maybe we had to maybe they had to be stoned. Maybe that, like in that part in the Bible, like when Jesus meets the woman who is caught in adultery, cast the first stone. Then if you're without sin, okay, well, good. Everybody goes off their own separate ways. It doesn't mean she didn't sin. It doesn't mean she didn't do what they accused her of doing. She did exactly that. And the reason they wanted to kill her is to make an example of her so that other women wouldn't do the same thing. That's how important paternity is, particularly in a society that is directed by patriarchy. There you go. Sorry, it's ugly. Sorry, it's brutal. Like I said, the truth is hard to accept. Tim, thank you. Tim, Thank you for the $5. Nasty Clown gave me 50 SEKs. I think that's a Norwegian buck. E gave me $4.99. So the 99, you can't. One more penny. Happened to me when I was 18. I told me it wasn't mine. Halfway through the pregnancy, married the cuck, and then told me it was mine 17 years later. So, Giuseppe, do you think that maybe we could have avoided what E went through if we lived in a patriarchal society, ugly warts and all? You think we could? I do. Daniel Roman, Rollo, did you know that Carlos Exuma from Soswav? It sounds familiar. He was into the red pill with many of his books. That sounds familiar. I don't know. That was a long time ago, man. DeLam. I'm on DeLam. What is this? ML. Sorry, ML says real responsibility is to ensure the kid have their real parents, hence the paternity test. Okay. There should be a paternity test. I think a paternity test would fundamentally, a mandatory paternity test would at least be a step in the right direction. I don't know if it would fundamentally change the reproductive landscape, but it would certainly, you want something that like Giuseppe DeFraio, right? We need something that's going, maybe it's not stoning. Okay. We won't stone women to death. Oh, but how about we just have a DNA test? So let's, here, I'll make a deal with you, just Giuseppe. How about we stop stoning women and honor killings or whatever? But here's the trade-off. We have DNA tests, mandatory DNA tests. That would be a deterrent, don't you think? And then guess what? If the woman is caught in trying to cuckold that guy, there are consequences for that. There's a standard of justice that is objective and it's applied to women trying to do those things. Right? Can we have that? Would that be all right? Can we do those things? What is it? The code of Hammurabi, right? If you're accused of something and the punishment for it is this, and the accuser accuses you falsely, guess what? You're now going to be punished to the same degree that guy would be if he had actually committed that crime. Law of Hammurabi. Should we have that? I think so. But we don't have that right now because we live in a gynocentric social order. We don't live in patriarchy. Patriarchy's gone. It's been gone at least since the sexual revolution. So don't tell me this nonsense. And I'm not picking on you, Giuseppe, because I know you're not. Yeah, you're still cool. But I'll hear it all the time. And you will hear this at the DNC. You will hear this. I'm actually surprised we didn't hear more about it yesterday on the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, that we lived in this horror. We got to balance the gender pay gap. We got to, I'm surprised we didn't get that kind of preaching yesterday or today or whenever. Because the presumption is that we're still living in, it's like women believe they're like the Hebrews of old Egypt. Let my people go. That's what feminists believe, that they're still I'm in bondage. Let me out. That's where that, as long as we perpetuate that nonsense, that nonsense that we still live in a patriarchal society, you're not going to get the DNA test. You're not going to get the law of Hammurabi. You're not going to get any of that kind of stuff. DeLam says, for your demonetized video. Thank you. Sometimes, I knew I was going to get demonetized because jcook is swearing a lot. That's fine. It's got to happen. It's got to do what it's got to do. But I felt it was important enough to do that. I probably shouldn't even try to monetize this. For your demonetized video, great content. Do you think men instinctually know when a child is not theirs? Ooh, thank you, man. And $50 for a great question too. Regardless of our current social construct, I think women have hypergamy in all of its forms and men have innate instincts. Yes. Legacy is important. Yeah. That's the whole thing. Like I said, the existential fear of men is to be cucked and to invest themselves a lifetime, as I said with jcook, invest themselves in a lifetime of investing, like emotionally, financially, into and really think about it this way. If he were to marry this girl, if he were to become daddy, all that, it's to really step up and do the right thing. If he were to really take on all of the responsibilities that we would expect of an honorable, duty-bound man to do those things, how would that affect his life? How would that change his life? You're basically saying when women do that, they're destroying your life. And I mean that in the sense that it's like maybe you would even live a better life because you were stupidly decided to take on those responsibilities. You might have, well, I got really responsible at 22 because I had a baby. Well, maybe it wasn't your baby, and maybe you would have lived differently. Okay, that's fine. That's the direction that women will go with it. But guess what? It removes you from making the decisions over your own life. And what have I said about power? Power is not, oh, I'm going to crush you. Power is not the degree of control you have over others. Power is the degree of control that you have over the decisions that you make for your own life. It is the control that you have over the direction of your life. And if you believe a falsehood that a woman told you when you were 22 years old, and you're making these decisions and you believe that you're making them because of the right thing to do, and you think that you're using your free will and you're doing all these things because you have to, I got to get responsible, I got to get a job, I got to do all these things, and you believe that you have that control, you'll make up reasons, you'll make up rationales, whatever fits into your sort of moral framework to do that. But the fact is that power was removed from you by a lie, by a woman who lied to you. And maybe you find out about it later and you'll find some stupid, like if he had found out that the kid wasn't his when he was like 42, 50, my age, 52, like if he had found out the kid isn't his, you wouldn't get pissed. I don't think. I mean, maybe you would for the first part of it, but you wouldn't get pissed because what human beings really do is if we invest into something, we want to believe that it was time well spent. They've done there's a lot of psychological studies about this where like they will go and they'll put men and women, like college students, into classes that they're supposed to help them like raise their grade in like history or science or whatever. But the way that they structure these sort of like extracurricular classes that are supposed to be like tutorials and things, they structure them so they actually don't do much of anything. Like they're just basically a big waste of time. And at the end of the experiment, their grades are still, maybe it moved up like one little teeny tiny point, like it got from a D to a D plus, right? Or something like that. But it's basically a big waste of time. And then they'll poll the experiment takers afterwards, and they'll say, "What did you think of the class?" And they'll go, "Oh yeah, I got all kinds of. I was great." Even though they did not get a better grade, they still thought it was time well spent. It's called sunk cost fallacy of sunk cost, something like that. Human beings will do that. So you get a guy who's 42 and he believed that the kid was his, and he invested all this time and energy and everything into a child that wasn't his. And maybe he gets pissed off a little bit because it's not his genetic legacy, but that sunk cost fallacy will promote him or prompt him to believe that it was still time well spent. Well, I made a human life better. It wasn't mine. And I'm going to be now a genetic dead end, but hey, I did good deeds. Well, yeah, okay. But guess whose genetics are going to go on to the next generation, not yours. The guy remember what he was saying? I was holding this woman's hand and I was helping her through labor of another man's child. He didn't say another man, but he said another guy's child, right? And that really got him because it was fresh, because it was right then and there. If you would have asked him about that 10, 20 years later, he would have said, well, I was, this kind of messed up, but I did a good thing by find some way to rationalize it. Alf. Gosh, you guys are killing me. I'm trying to end earlier these days, and you guys just go on and on and on. Alf, the nemesis says, a few years ago, I spun plates and ended up feeling bad for a girl catching feels. What tools to help murk the beta for good with a coffin nail to boot? Well, here's what I would say. Again, men need to start prioritizing rationality and reasonableness and, like logical thought and objective empirical reality above emotions, if that's what you want to do. Sometimes you're not going to be able to do that. Like I was saying before, is like, it is humanly impossible for you not to feel something if something affects you in such a way. I mean, if you don't, you want to know how people people who lack empathy are psychopaths or something like that. We call that a mental disorder or a personality disorder for a reason, because people who do that tend to have something wrong with them. You can actually turn somebody into a psychopath, or I should say, you can actually reduce somebody's empathy. You can reduce we do it all the time with women because women are the ones who have prescriptions for SSRIs. And what does that do? It makes you not care. That's all it does. It doesn't really help depression as much as it just sort of removes the ability for you to care about something. I'm not sure how that works chemically, but I do know that SSRIs will make you sort of ambivalent or apathetic. You have ennui, right? Ennui. You just simply don't care about things. You're just kind of like, I don't say a vegetable, but you're just kind of like, no creativity, no emotion, no nothing. You're just kind of like, I don't want to feel, so I'm going to numb myself. You can do that chemically. You do that with alcohol. You do that with drugs, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't. So if I leave you guys with anything today, I want you to understand that I'm not saying don't be emotional. I'm just saying prioritize reason and rationality before you get to emotion. So I was like, oh, I can't believe Rollo would say that. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it with the binary extremes, right?
Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, stop it. Who else is in here? What did you give me, Sam? Sam gave me something else here. He says, who was this? Jeff N? I guess this is something Sam wants me to hit. Oh, I didn't get to this one. It says, once exposed, why do women give or trickle out the truth without taking any responsibility? Because they can. From Jada's entanglement to this one's irrelevant meetup. Yeah, well, they'll find any kind of euphemism. I've been using that. Everybody's been using the entanglement thing. I've been using the deep healing. What was deep healing? Sounds like that girl needs some deep healing. Yeah, euphemisms. Again, it's rationality. Remember what I said before? It's like, of course, women want to be absolved of accountability, particularly when it comes, and we're willing to do it in a gynocentric social order. When men are women already, they're going to respond to things in the same way that women do. Oh, is this an entanglement? No, bitch, you cheated on him. You tried to convince him that it was his baby. Oh, it was an irrelevant meetup. Like hell it was. You got pregnant. Like that's pretty relevant. Pregnancy? That's really relevant. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have women. That's what's called the rationalization hamster. She's on the hamster wheel. Been using that for ages. What else is here? I think I have caught. Oh no, I got a couple more. God damn it, guys! Stop it. JV. Oh wait, no, this one first. Sorry, JV. Flex Owl says got tattoo on his face of the name of the child. Did he? I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to go. I will go back and look at that. I did not see that. Did he get the baby's name was London, right? Is that what they call it? London. Wasn't that a character in like A Sweet Life of Zach and Cody? That was Brenda Song. She was London. Sorry, my bad. Sorry. Don't throw things at me. Any opinion on women who have surgery to have no more babies without husband's consent? You mean ablations? What about it? It doesn't matter for you because you have no control. That's what I think. I think that there's not going to be anything you have to say about it because it's her body and her choice. It's the same thing as having an abortion. If a woman gets pregnant, I don't care if you've been married to her for 20 years. If she gets maybe not 20 years, but 10 years, and she wants to have an abortion, guess who doesn't get any say in that? You, guy. If he wants to kill your baby, she'll kill your baby. That's what I said. What is the latent purpose of hypergamy, class? Or excuse me, the latent purpose. What is the latent purpose of abortion, class? It is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. Nothing says he's not the right guy like the unilateral ability to end his power, I guess, to end his genetic legacy in utero. Who's talking to me? Somebody's asking me stuff. Sorry. See, when we get late in the show, people start texting me. Hey, man. What'd you say here? King Henry. The power that women have is giving to them by the blue pill men. You know what, King Henry? I don't know if you're a Patreon subscriber. You should be for me because I'm going to probably talk about that tomorrow on the private stream that I'm going to do for at least an hour, probably more like 2 on Thursday. It's just going to be a Q&A thing to begin with for my Patreon subscribers. I'll explain to you why I'm doing that on Thursday instead of Wednesday today. But that I will be doing tomorrow at 1 p.m. Now, Flexed, why aren't laws already on the on the books for this stuff. Why? Well, clearly it's because men's fault, right? No, it's because guys, yeah, it is in a way because they're the ones that go along with this kind of shit. That's why. There should be. Why isn't the world work the way I want it to? Can you answer my question about T levels, please? Throw it back at me and I will. George, thank you, George the third, for the $4.99. What did you ask about T levels? I didn't see anything. Sam, go dig that up for me, will you? The T levels. I didn't see that one. Delam, thank you for that $50, man. That was good. That was very cool of you. I'll answer that one last. Give me the T levels one, and then I gotta go. I gotta get. Why was I skipped? You weren't skipped, dude. I just talked about you 1 second ago, King Henry. King Henry. I told you the same thing. I'll probably answer this tomorrow on the Patreon stream. The power that men have is giving them the blue pill, given to them by blue pill men. Yeah. Well, you can. So here, let me give you a better answer than that. Okay. My question is in a separate. I don't know where it is, dude. Throw it at me again. I'll get to it. You don't have to give me a super. Just put it up there. I'm watching. I'm actually monitoring the chat at this point. Oh, is this the one you were talking about? Gynocentrism is saturated all around us. It seems counterproductive raising a child in a co-parent arrangement with a feminist mom as a red pill father. All the odds are against you. Okay, is that what you wanted me to read? Because I think that's what you wanted to say, right? That's the only other one I could see. I haven't seen the T level ones yet. Let's see. Rollo, what is this? Greyhound us your links for helping rescue dogs. I will. You know what? Actually, you want me to? I'll be happy to do that. Just give me a second. You know what? The links. Okay, I'll do that. The only reason I'm going to do that is because I work with a project called GraySave, and I think I have. Where's my GraySave stuff? Oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on, where's GraySave? Actually, let me just go search for it. There it is. Okay, yeah, and I'm going to do this because I'm going to give this to you because there is a ton more. Okay, here it is. There is a ton more dogs in the system right now because of COVID, actually. And in Florida, there was a legislation was passed, and here you go, Tucson Razor. This is for Tucson Razorbacks. Here you go. This is the Grace. I just put it in the chat there for you, and I will kick it up there in just a second. But yeah, the reason I'm working with GraySave is they're the guys that are here it is. Let's put that up there. That's GraySave Donate. It's pretty easy. It's just graysave.org, and then it's donate HTML. Yeah, if you guys want to put some money on them, that's fine. You don't have to pay me. Just give them some money because Florida was supposed to cycle. They closed all the dog tracks in Florida, and they were supposed to take a year to do that. And then COVID hit, and then that basically closed all the tracks. And so now all the dogs that were supposed to sort of like trickle out of the system, now they're just flood the system. So like when I was looking for Ned, there was like no dogs to be had. Yeah, I was very lucky to get Ned. Now there's hundreds of dogs. So if you can help with that, that would be awesome. I thank you for reminding me of that. Okay. When's book 4 coming out? Book 4 is in last rounds of edits right now. I'm waiting for it to come back. I am kind of tweaking a few things like the midsection on marriage right now. There's a sec here. You know what? I'm not going to do it here. If you're a Patreon subscriber and you want to know about the book, I will give you detailed information about the book on my Patreon stream tomorrow, which will be at 1 p.m. Patreon only. It is unlisted. You can't get the link unless you are a Patreon follower, and you can't go see it either. It is protected. Let's see. What else did you give me here, man? All I got from George III was a $4.99 thing. I think maybe that was it. If I didn't get to your thing today, I apologize. I always try to stay up on top of these things. I know. I'm kind of glad that I did hold off on it for this long. Only because I think it's going to be way more relevant now after all this crap that's been going on. So society wide right now, global society wide. And no, I'm not going to get into conspiracy theory stuff. I do not get into that whatsoever. I didn't see this, dude. I'm sorry. I did not see anything on T levels, Patrick. And in fact, when you're talking about T levels in the first place, I don't really get into too much with that. That's really kind of like Rich Cooper's forte, because he does testosterone replacement therapy. So anyways, okay, that's good enough for now. I think if I didn't get to your post, consider hitting me up tomorrow on the live stream. Thank you also, Nasty Clown, for that 500 SEKs. I'm not really sure what SEKs are. And so tomorrow on Patreon, 1:00 Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern time, I will be on for just a live. So you can just ask me questions. That's fine. I'm just gonna throw it. I'm still kind of working out the bugs with the Patreon thing. But I will be on there, and I will take all your questions. If you asked me something here and I did not get to it, consider just asking me on the thing. On the live stream tomorrow. Book 4, like I said, is in last round of edits. I am already building the InDesign files because I do all the design work for all of my work. So I do a lot of work for you. I work hard. I don't have any other videos coming up. Rule 0 will be on Ryan's channel. That will be on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then, of course, I always do my Sunday show, which is the same time as this show, which is 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I will be shuffling this show over to Patreon. I promise I will. I felt it was more important to sort of put this out publicly because of it being a little bit more timely, but I'm going to make up for it by doing a live stream tomorrow. So hopefully this guy has made a difference in your life. Hopefully this has been a good show for you. So it's been good for me too. Thanks. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.